track for episode number 7 of the Sloth Doctors. I'm Dr. Chip.
I'm Dr. Bob.
And I am Reverend Jim.
There we go. So you hassing out on us with the...
What's up?
You're hassing out?
Is this too Hasselhoffy? I don't know.
So
maybe
I
gotta
got
be like
to
I don't know. I think this podcast is actually pretty big in Germany, so it might be a
let
good
me
idea.
go. Well, danke schön.
Nazis love us. But I should mention, Jim was in the very first band I was ever in, and literally one of the only guys I even remember from that band. What was the name of that band again?
This is a funny thing. We're going back to like 1991 here.
No, probably late 80s.
No,
Oh, wow.
I moved to Florida in 91,
Okay, all right.
so maybe,
all right, 91, okay.
All right. But, yeah, no, I do remember, and you came, and if I'm not mistaken, when I first, this is how I know, when I first moved to Florida, I took out an ad in the MA.
The rag.
Remember MA? Not the, the
MA.
rag.
Yeah,
Remember
yeah.
the rag?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, I took out an ad. I went down to that Lauderdale. Was it MA? Is that still there?
No, I think that closed, yeah.
And they had a thing, a newsletter or something, and I said, new in town, keyboard player, guitar, vocalist, or whatever. And then I just went out on a bunch of auditions and, and went to some people's houses. And then I ended up at that place on Okeechobee Boulevard. In the Turnpike, and then I walked in, and it was like this big redneck band, and I went up and sang "Give Me 3 Steps," and they said you're hired, and that was that was 5 nights a week house gig, and I was getting, I believe, $40 a night, which was $200 a week to play in a band, which was more than I was getting paid for the job that I was actually qualified for, which was digging holes. So,
do you remember those days where there was 5 nights in a row at the same place?
Yeah.
No moving your stuff.
Yeah.
Just at the end of the night, click your stuff off. Good night.
Yeah.
I miss those days so much, man.
Well, actually,
What was the name of this place?
that place,
Dark Horse. That was a Dark Horse.
There was 2. There was the Dark Horse, which now I think it might be the Plus 4 or something.
No,
What
it's
is it called?
Foster's 2
Foster's
now or
2.
something like that, I think.
And then there was the Dirty Duck.
Right.
Which used to be another club before that, which I don't remember, but now it's nothing. I don't know.
Yeah, there's nothing.
So that was like right after the Gathering then days, right?
Yeah.
That was like late 80s. That's when I met you.
Yeah. No, I think I was, God, I don't remember where I was, if I was working or not, or what I was doing back then, but yeah. What was the name of that band?
Well, that's what I'm thinking now. I'm going through the process of remembering now.
Is it Night Magic?
I
it?
believe that was it. Because the girl who I was dating at the time, who I still, am with, she liked Night Magic with Shamu at SeaWorld. So she was so excited that I was going to be playing in a band called Night Magic, because of the whales, but it had nothing. It was actually just a bunch of guys.
How did she feel about the Blackfish documentary?
Oh, yeah, she doesn't, la, 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 that sort of thing, She doesn't even, I'll get into this, she doesn't eat chicken or any land animals. She's not quite a vegan, but she eats...
pescatarian?
Yes, right. Which sounds like a religion.
It does.
I've been a devout pescatarian. But my family are all pescatarians. But is it pescatarian? Pescatarian?
I think it's pescatarian. I think I mispronounced it.
The aliens are called pescatarians. I have to remember that. The ones who built the pyramids.
Isn't that the church that follows Joe Pesci?
Yes, that's true. Yeah, the
pescatarians.
pescatarians. Hey.
As Carlin says, he gets shit done.
My wife would.
What about me makes you laugh? No,
she doesn't eat fish because she doesn't think that like a sheep or a cow or a chicken have feelings, so she won't eat them. But she doesn't feel like fish have feelings, so that's how she feels about that. So then we went scuba diving one time, and I took her around the school, showed her like the families and stuff, and
now she doesn't eat fish.
No, she's still. Okay.
She's down to shellfish.
It didn't stick. But after as many years as I've been married, all you want to do is just pick on each other. That's just the best part.
Even scallops have eyes.
Yeah,
nobody likes to talk about that, but they do.
They
a
do?
Shit ton of. Oh, it's gruesome too. They got like a string. They look like a string of beads. They got like a string of eyes.
Ew.
Yeah, they're not very smart.
Where
critters.
are the eyes on the shell?
Along the shell, like the mouth, like where the opening of it is.
I never knew that. That's interesting.
I mean, you only see them in the wild.
How about
obviously.
clams, oysters? They don't have eyes.
I don't believe they do. No.
So just
I think just the scallop does. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
I think that's where the expression "blind as a clam" comes from. Have you heard that one? I just made it up.
But
now, where does happy as a clam come from, though? What?
That's right. That's
what in a clam's life ever make it happy?
They got a big smile. I would say.
You know.
Yeah. I don't know. But getting back to the music thing, we had talked about maybe doing a musical thing, and I'm just going to say, I don't think a Kanye tribute is going to go over right at this moment.
You know, that's the problem is because I saw that coming, and then I was like, all right, enough, on with the P Daddy tributes. And I went down and I boned up and I learned, P Daddy, whatever.
I think he was P Daddy at one point, wasn't he?
I'm sure he was called that on several occasions.
P Big Popper.
I was telling him, it's like,
too.
it's so hilarious that these people are like, oh, there's lube and sex. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I assumed they were doing. What's the big...
I have never been to any of Chip's parties.
Right? The degeneracy is, it's old hat.
Yeah,
They've always
baked
done
in.
that.
I mean, I just assumed they were... I mean, the gay part, that's a little...
Gay.
Little gay, yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of which...
In a happy way, though. The way people love each
Speaking of
other.
which, and this is something I wanted to talk about. The death of shame.
Yes.
Shame is dead.
I talked about this quite some time ago.
Have you ever sucked off your cousin?
Oh, no.
I mean, it's really cool to say so apparently now.
No.
You didn't have that pleasure of...
No. I knew that the death of shame was coming ever since people have been chronicling their entire lives and putting it on the internet. I mean, there's going to come a point in the very near future, if we haven't already reached it, where every adult of voting age, their skeletons are going to be easily found.
Yeah.
So you can't hide it anymore. The only thing you can do is to just have no shame and just not give a shit.
There's no shame anymore.
What you do and what people know about. But it's not good because there are definitely things that
and you need to tell John
be ashamed
Tolliver the gay jokes are just there's nobody cares anymore.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, it doesn't.
Tolliver, I got to get him on here over an episode.
Oh yeah, I like that guy. I could have brought him.
Here we'll talk about this. One of somebody on his Facebook page called me a racist this morning.
Oh, did they? Yeah.
Yes, because we were talking about the Constitution. I happened to mention that, that maybe the Civil War wasn't completely about slavery. So that makes me a racist.
Oh, well, I mean,
of course, we all know that the Iraq War, the Afghanistan, they were all completely about terrorism. There was no other motivation whatsoever that, you got to believe exactly what they tell you.
Right. Well, I would agree that the only extra component to the Civil War, aside from slavery, would be the fact that the North wanted the money that the South had. But the reason the South had the money is because they were making money by using free labor, which was slavery. So
absolutely,
it still pretty much was about slavery.
Yeah. We're kind of doing the same thing right now with China. Hey, we don't like, some of us don't like you using slave labor. Some of us do. Some of us don't, whatever.
Do you remember that episode of Friends where Joey could only afford one encyclopedia book and then every other conversation was out of his...
No,
the one letter.
V. So, if you'd like to discuss the Virgin Islands, or Versace.
God, remember encyclopedias?
Yeah,
Holy
I know.
crap.
Books. Yeah.
When's the last time you saw an encyclopedia?
When I moved out of my mom's house. I mean, we had a set and they were technically mine, but
my
when
mom
you're
had like
17
3
and you move
sets
out,
of
you
them,
don't move into a place that you can fit a set of encyclopedias in a bookcase.
Well, you got to have a bookcase, a giant bookcase, yeah.
Right. So
It
I
is
left them with her.
amazing how books and have not become a thing anymore. In fact, if you drive down Southern Boulevard over here, which is a little bit north there, over right across from the Home Depot is the only book and DVD store still available, which is the adult DVD and bookstore. Because,
Well, they still have Barnes and Nobles.
sometimes when it comes to that stuff, I need to get out. I don't like the privacy of my own home when it comes to my adult entertainment. I need to read good old-fashioned books and DVDs.
You got to do now to watch porn on internet, right?
Oh, I didn't know.
You got to send
DeSantis
a
personal
dick pic
touch.
But there are still book sales though, and
really?
Kindle hasn't taken over completely, and e-readers haven't taken over completely, and the primary reason is twofold. One, books can serve a purpose other than just something to read, which is literally, like you just said, having a bookcase as decorations.
My dad
on a
still
coffee
reads books
table
all the time.
especially a really nice hardback or something, or like an book about engineering or architecture or something. And then the other thing too is that it's kind of awkward to gift somebody a book on a Kindle or an e-reader or something. And most book sales occur around the holidays. A lot of people still give older people books as gifts. So those are the two things that are keeping book sales alive.
Now,
and probably the lobbyists from the lumber industry that want to keep cutting down trees to make books.
Has anybody ever timed like how long it takes to listen to a book on audio as opposed to read it?
Well,
It's got to be a lot longer to read, right?
No, it's a lot longer to listen to something.
You think so?
Well, because you have to.
Well, I guess it depends how well you read.
Look, nobody is going to pay you to read an audiobook. Okay, and then you can't speak it as fast. I mean,
That's
you're going
true.
to read it much faster in your own eye and your own mind than you are to speak it out. Especially
You
if,
can.
especially
Not
if
everybody can.
the guy is doing different voices and inflections, and like a voice actor trying to actually do an audiobook. It's different if it's just the author himself reading it, or if it's a nonfiction where there really is no need to slip in and out of character or anything.
I don't buy the premise that everybody can read faster than you can talk.
Oh, I think I've never met anybody that couldn't read faster than they could talk.
You'd be surprised. My dad used to teach speed reading. You'd be surprised. A lot of people that you just.
I'm not even talking about speed reading. I'm just.
I know, but that's
Reading.
but listen. He used to give these things called mini lessons to sell the course, and in these mini lessons, he would test people. He'd be like, "All right, start reading." 15 seconds or so. All right, how many words did you read? Times 4. That's how fast you read. And you'd be surprised how it's not. A lot of people don't read that fast.
I mean, I've never timed myself, but I have listened to a lot of books on audio, and I've also read books.
Well, here's the
and it's
whole
way faster to read
here's
them
the
yourself.
other whole concept behind speed reading is that if there's a thing called sub-vocalization, which is when you read, you say the words like "see cat run," you say it in your head, "see cat run," and if you do that, you're ever only going to be able to read as fast as you can speak. Obviously, which is like only like. I think the fastest speech ever given was like 250 words per minute or something like that. But the whole concept behind speed reading is, first of all, you stop saying the words, and instead of looking at a sentence like that, like every word, you start looking at a sentence like a word. Like when you see a word, you don't spell out every letter. You see a word, you know what the word says.
Yeah.
And then you
But when I think of a word in my head, I do sound, and I even mispronounce it if need be to spell it correctly. Like in my head, Wednesday is Wednesday. That's the way I hear it in my head before I start to write it or even say it, because that's the way it's spelled.
Right.
So
Arkansas.
exactly.
There we go. Yay!
Well,
Exactly.
Here's the thing: the speed reading works like you don't catch everything. You get the concepts of what's being.
It's Cliff Notes.
You can miss some details of what's really going on in there, but and the whole concept. I actually took. I went through about half the course before I dropped out, and I just was like, "Fuck this." But I got pretty. I was reading pretty fast before I quit, and it's like anything else, like typing. If you stop doing it, you got to keep doing it, and you got to use your hand. That's why a lot of stuff is printed in those small columns,
right?
So the people can just write down the middle. Anyway, enough about boring reading.
Oh my goodness! Oh, I felt like I was reading right there. Oh God, is there going to be a test on reading?
Right. Well, reading puts a lot of people to sleep. I
didn't know that you had only just started playing in bands back in the late 80s, I guess, early 90s. You were in that band with me, and then we played over at those two clubs. There was a band called Nine Magic, and then I ended up playing in a band with another guy who you might remember from the 90s who went by Jimmy Debo. Do you remember that guy at all?
Yeah, I remember.
Now, he was like a solo guy, and he would play acoustic guitar gigs all around town. And I would go see him, and he'd be like, "Oh, get away from me," because I was just, I don't know. And then, but eventually, my number got back to him, and then he called me, and I swear to God, at the time, I thought Bruce Springsteen himself was calling me. You know what I mean? I was like, "Oh my God!" And then he's like, "Come," and then and suddenly I went from playing at these clubs, and I'm going back because I haven't really worked in this town because I've been traveling a lot. Right. But in this town back then, you had there's that one on Belvedere out there on
Connolly's.
4 foot, whatever that was. And there was the pluses and the twos and the other whatever the other thing that we mentioned earlier. Just the clubs where you go in and it's like, can't you see? You know what I mean?
Not that different.
Yeah. And then when I started working with this Jimmy guy, we played at places like the Bimini Bay, which is now down there, whatever that's called now, that fancy Palm Beach club on the water. And we played at these clubs are all different now. Cobblestones in Wellington. You remember that one?
Oh, yeah,
I
worked
think it's
there.
a Mexican place. Yeah. Oh, did you work there?
Yeah. Well, I worked
work?
at Cobblestones a couple of times, but they opened another place that was called the Courtyard out there that I opened and closed that restaurant.
Right.
Same owners, same people.
Yeah,
That was-
didn't you
that's
wait
a thing.
tables at the beefsteak or something? Or
Beef
the,
eaters, yeah.
the beef-
That was my last job ever
was it?
that I've had since back in the 90s. I worked at Beef Eaters.
Ah, man,
That was actually last time I had a boss.
Do you,
Oh, yeah.
Do you
Oh, good for
remember
you.
a place on Old Okeechobee, I think, called Merlin's?
maybe. Was
Just
that a bar?
Yeah, like in a warehouse
kind of.
district. Like,
Yes.
It's off of Church
just
Street. Yeah, it was
hell
a dive,
pit,
man.
Just
it was
the ultimate dive.
Yeah.
It was literally a warehouse.
Was this the bar that was open after the other bars?
Yes.
It was,
Yeah,
it was
yes.
open from like
Yeah.
2 to 6 in the morning or
Yes,
something.
People,
oh yeah, I did
people
gigs
would
there.
just randomly get up
Yeah.
out of the crowd and play somebody would just get up and play drums, and somebody else would get
Dude,
up and
that's
play
where I
guitar.
found.
and
That's where I found
sometimes it
Jan,
sounded
the
pretty
singer
good.
of Serious Jones,
oh, you're
was in
right. I do
Merlin's.
remember
Really?
that too.
He was doing like karaoke there one night, and I'm like, "Holy shit, dude! Are you in a band or anything?" He's like, "No, you want to be?"
What I remember about that place mostly is I went and used the bathroom. I think I caught encephalitis or something. You know?
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, there was like they were just coming out of the walls like scrubbing bubbles or something. I don't know.
place
You
was-
have no idea.
Yeah.
There was the bartender back there. Was that guy named Jack? Remember Jack?
Yes.
One time I walked in.
Kind
there's-
of looked like Wolfman Jack,
Yes,
didn't he?
yes,
Yeah,
he did.
yeah.
Yes, he did. Big fat biker looking dude. And one time I walked into the bathroom and it was like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, that place was really popular with bikers.
Oh, yeah,
a lot of bikers there.
How about I don't know if you would remember this
And
place.
also
You-
all the signatures with people, you could take chalk
Oh
and
yeah,
stuff
yeah,
and write your
everybody,
names
yeah,
on the
all
walls.
over
There
the
was
wall.
all kinds of
I
weird
put
shit
my name
written
on
on
there
the
like
walls.
4 or 5 times.
The weirdest thing I ever saw on the wall, and I'm convinced it was somebody that was just trolling before that was even a term. But I literally saw the fucking Zodiac symbol from the Zodiac Killer on the wall at Merlin's, and it said Zodiac was here, and I was like, "Oh, that's disturbing."
Are you guys Floridians?
Yeah,
Yeah.
You are
Yeah.
both, right?
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
all right,
yeah.
yeah. I'm a transplant, obviously.
Yeah.
You know,
Where are you from?
Long Island.
Oh, okay, Long
It's
Island.
it's a
You're-
little
you're- you're
it's a
from
little
the-
bit of an island right off of.
You're from my hero is from Long Island.
Billy Joel. Eddie
Tim
Murphy.
Dillon.
who?
Tim Dillon, man, he's hilarious. You don't know who Tim Dillon is? Big fat.
Like a Rolling Stone?
No, Tim Dillon, big fat comedian dude.
No, okay, maybe I do.
Oh my God, he's hilarious, dude.
I have my dad's side of the family has. I think there's still Rimlands in New York, but I don't think they're on Long Island. Maybe I don't know.
Well, I came to Florida and it was like, why do people wait until they're almost dead to come here? You know what I mean? I was like, I'm in my 20s. I'm going to move here now.
Yeah.
Skip over all that New York crap, you know what I mean? Driving in the snow and just move here now where I can still appreciate girls in bikinis, you know what I mean? Which, by the way, turns out you never stop, you know? You always
That's
do,
always-
apparently.
So,
But,
do you remember AJ Gordon's?
I don't know about that.
That
It was
was
also
right.
in Okeechobee, right?
Yeah, it was on
Right
Okeechobee,
next to
just
Peach's
west of
record
Congress.
store?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
right next to Peaches.
Yep.
That was
Wow, that might
that
have-
was one of the wildest places. I saw Jocko there once. Jocko Pastorius walked in there once. There was some band playing. He walked right up on stage, tried to take the bass out of the bass player on stage's hand. The guy almost was about to hit him when the bartender there, I forget his name, is like, no, just give him the bass. And he got up there with the bass. The whole band just kind of stopped playing and left stage. Left him on the stage by himself with the bass, which he plucked around on for about 5 minutes. He was fucking wasted.
My mom used to go there a lot to watch this guy called Peter Trapin.
Yeah, I
She's
know
a
that
big
guy.
fan of
Yeah,
Peter
yeah.
Trapin.
He used to play at the Gathering.
And yeah, she used to go there to see him too. And apparently they, I don't know
He's
if they
Facebook friends with
maybe
me still.
dated or friends or something. But yeah,
He's
she
in
she really
England
liked that
right now.
guy. Oh yeah,
Yeah. Peter Trapin and what were the other two guys' names? Something Sheldon and God, I forget. They had a cool little three-piece
you know what's
band.
funny is I hadn't thought of that guy's name in 30 or 40 years until
Right.
you said AJ Gordon's, and then it just popped right into my head.
But I mean, AJ Gordon's was the place after work that everybody would go, and they had some great bands. Truk of America, remember those guys? Ever hear those guys?
No, you said Sheldon, and now I'm trying to think of every other character on that show. I try to come up with it. I can't.
Howard.
And,
What are they knocking on the door? What? I can't even think about it.
Raj and,
Is it Penny? I don't know.
Penny,
Anyway.
Howard.
Yeah, there we go.
What's the
Raj,
Indian guy's
he's my
Raj?
favorite.
Yeah.
How about this town
Leonard.
now? We're in Boca Raton here. This has always been a thing. But like when I moved here, even Clematis Street was really not much. I'm talking like 1991.
Yeah, back then it was nothing.
Yeah.
Del absolutely nothing until like 2002 or something, or 2000s, late. So I mean, and you go to these places now, they're bustling metropolises. I mean, it's kids who grew up here. What was the scene back in the 70s and 80s? Was there any place to go?
Oh yeah, it was just,
Rat's
it was
Mouth
just
has
different.
always been bougie.
What was that?
Here?
Oh, this
Boca?
no,
It's
the mouth
always
of-
been bougie.
The mouth of the rat
has always been. There's always been
I don't want
bouginess
to get in
here.
any trouble with people from Boca, but I would much rather hang out in Palm Beach. Because at least those people are on another planet. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
They're so wealthy, you don't even exist to them.
Yeah.
They just treat you like some kind of thing. But in Boca Raton, it's a little bit more. They've earned there, so they have to, be a little more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I
Which
was
I don't. It's not really a favorite scene of mine to come hang
When
out.
I was in
Boca
high
Raton
school,
with.
West Palm was pretty ratty. Clematis and
Oh, yeah.
the downtown area was
Yeah.
pretty crime ridden. And
That's when Rodney bought it all up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rodney did get I think that's when he bought Respectables, actually.
Yeah, he
Maybe
bought everything
around
back then when it was
Well,
the
he owned
pennies
it
on the
then
dollar
already
back
at
then.
that point, I think.
Right. In the 90s, I used to do acoustic gigs over at O'Shea's, which I think is still there.
Yep, serious.
But what the downtown West Palm scene always surprised, the thing that always blew my mind the most about that as a kid was that the 4 streets where everybody went to buy like crack and like really bad drugs were literally as close to the police station as you could get.
Right.
It was like 1 block away from the police station. Dudes would run out to your car and sell you drugs. It's like you're not even, you know what I mean? The cops don't even need cars to catch you guys. They could just walk around the neighborhood and nab them and just rampant the whole time.
All right, you want to hear my best crack story?
Sure.
All right, so I don't know if you ever met this guy. This guy named Bob. He was a waiter at the Gathering. He was actually from Boca. He was like his parents were rich as shit. Anyway, he was a bit of a cokehead. So we're sitting around one day watching I think we were watching NBA playoffs, and he goes, "Hey man, you want to go buy some crack?"
Just right out of the blue?
Yeah. And like an idiot, I'm like, okay. And here's the really bad part. I was living with Skip at the time, and he had this really nice
Skip and Chip.
Yeah, right. My uncle.
Yeah,
don't
you
get
never
me started.
met Bip, I don't think.
Yeah.
But there
Yeah,
once was a Skip, Chip,
He
and
had
Bip.
this really nice nickel-plated 357 Magnum. I decided, well, we probably, maybe bring that along. Not a good idea. So we go down there. And we're in like an S10 pickup. Sure enough, some guy takes our money, takes off, doesn't come back. So we're sitting there, and I've got this gun kind of like sitting on the center console where people can see it, so they know I'm serious. And we're like, hey man, that guy better fucking show up and blah 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 blah. Dude, somehow one of these guys, faster than I've ever seen anything happen in my life, reached in and grabbed the gun.
Yeah,
It was like,
if you're going to be in an area like that with a gun, you need to be in your hand.
That was a great conversation going, hey, Skip, I hate to have to tell you this, but your gun just got stolen by a crackhead.
After he ripped my friend off.
You might want to go down to the police station and tell him that
Oh, God, I bet he was so happy with you.
It was an interesting day at the... Matter of fact, I think shortly after that, he kicked me out.
Yeah. And what did you learn from that little excursion?
You don't bring out the gun unless you're ready to use it.
Right? Or maybe don't go with your buddy when he says, hey, you want to go buy some crack?
No, there's nothing wrong with crack. Crack's great. Yeah.
That's a young man's game.
Well, freebase is much better.
Well, yeah, obviously.
Yeah, but
Well,
Okay,
as far
yeah,
as
more
crack goes,
expensive.
I mean, I had a guy fix my sink the other day. There was plenty of crack there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you never done crack?
It's not really. I mean, not really something. What is that? Speed on speed?
It's just coke.
Yeah, is
It's
it
just
really?
coke.
It's like I'm just not fired up enough.
It's just coke.
I mean-
but I will say
I mean,
that
you were alive in the 80s. You had to have at least done some coke in your day, right?
I would imagine that
Hey, look,
at some point.
what is it? The statute
Statute
of
of
limitations
limitations
is
on
well
all that
run
shit
out.
is
You
long
can admit
The
gone.
truth of the matter is, you can have a couple of cocktails and be social. You can smoke a joint, and listen to some music. It's speed. What's it
Yeah.
going to do for me? It doesn't really. I'm already. Look at me.
Well,
I'm,
no,
already-
coke
I'm already. I'm already
is-
on
See,
15
you can
years
tell,
over
you
here.
can
It's
tell
not
he
speed.
hasn't does it because he thinks it's speed.
But I will say
Yeah.
this. He is right about one thing. Crack and freebase are not social drugs.
Yeah.
They're not the kind of drugs that snorting cocaine, which is how most people start doing it,
Right.
doing a bump or a key bump or something like that, can be a very social drug. It enables you to drink alcohol for longer, makes you talk real fast and jabber jaw with people.
Yeah.
But once you go devolve into freebasing or smoking crack, you don't want to be around anybody else. You're holed up at a hotel room, checking through the blinds,
Sitting around a table,
getting
with
all
guess I just
paranoid
don't-
and shit.
You're all
guess
like,
I just don't have enough experience at it.
Yeah, this
I'm
doesn't
like,
seem
well,
like-
that just doesn't seem like a good time to me.
But you have to
Although
realize-
not to
I
mention the
understand
fact
that the
that-
cocaine will get you chicks. So I mean, I missed
But
that.
you also got to realize
aspect
how much
it.
of the music business in the 70s and
got
80s
ca-
was
who's got-
completely fueled by cocaine.
Oh, yeah, for
I mean,
sure.
there's no way you could go out and tour for 250 freaking days, without a little, man, do I got to go on again tonight? All right, here we go. Let's go. It fueled the music industry for decades. So it can't be that bad.
Well, no, there's a huge, like I said, there's a huge difference between the three ways in which one does cocaine. Snorting cocaine, social, not good for you by any stretch of the imagination.
Not that bad for
but
you,
not
though, either.
horrible for you, and it clears out of your system in 3 days, yada, yada, yada. Freebasing and crack, worse. Socially, isolation, more guilt, you spend more money on it, it's more addictive, blah, blah, blah. And then the third stage, which are people that actually shoot cocaine into their veins.
Oh, Lord.
Which I have no idea what that does, because
Oh, that
I
reminds
have
me.
no idea what round 3 is like in that game.
That reminds me of our friend Abdul that we wanted to tell you about.
Okay.
Wait a
Abdul.
minute, you may actually have met Abdul.
Maybe I have.
Because, all right, remember Don, the guitar player from the band, right?
Did he have long hair? And
Yeah, kind of a mullety, long hair,
Yeah,
right? Right,
yeah.
skinny, kind of
Yeah,
wiry
yeah.
guy.
Yeah, okay,
All
that
right,
was
well, the way I met Don was I was living with this guy named Abdul, and Don came over to jam with us. That's how I met Don,
okay.
and that got me into that band. But let me tell you about Abdul. You would
was
remember
Abdul
him.
playing an instrument at the time?
Yeah,
or?
yeah, yeah. He was a musician. He played guitar.
Sitar.
Dude, all right. So let me tell you guys
We were
about
just
Abdul.
listening to Cat Stevens on the way here.
Obviously, he had the look. His name was his Muslim name was Abdul Saifullah, and he had the look. He had the turban. I was living with this guy. I rented a room for this guy for quite a while.
When was this?
God, it had to be, I guess, 90, 91, 90,
okay.
89, 90. It was right before I got into that band, so I don't know. Had to be back then sometime.
I guess
But anyway, so this guy was a devout Muslim, wouldn't touch a bit of alcohol.
Did he have the beard but no mustache? It's a
I
unique.
think he had
it's
the
a unique
mustache
look.
too. No, he just went
Most
with
of
the
those
whole.
guys
He
have
was
the
just all
beard but
hairy.
no mustache, and
But
it's
he
just
wouldn't
them and
touch
Amish
alcohol.
dudes.
But he would smoke the shit out of weed, pills, no problem. He told me that once he shot up 12 hits of acid.
Oh my!
Yeah. I'm like,
Well, that'd make
shut-
anybody become a Muslim.
Shut up.
Yeah, I can see how
Well,
he
here's-
thought he saw God. Yeah, for
suddenly
sure.
I'm seeing Muhammad.
All right, so this is where the story gets great. All right, so I obviously lived with the guy for a while, moved out. Everybody went their separate ways. Next thing you know, this guy, and he would talk some pretty radical shit, like whatever. Next thing I know, this guy
Wait a
with
minute. Let me
his
get this
wife,
straight. He's radical?
yeah,
Okay.
this guy with his wife that I lived with and their brother are on the fucking front page of the newspaper for getting caught trying to rob a bank in Afghanistan.
Oh,
Yes.
pick your battles. It's a bad one.
Well, he had picked his battle. They were
Yeah.
over there to fight the jihad, and apparently they told him to do your part for the jihad, go rob that bank, and they got caught doing it. They were going to cut off his hand and his foot, but apparently Charlie, his real name, Charlie's dad's in the Pentagon. So he somehow miraculously got sent back without much of anything happening to him, which, that's as interesting. That was an interesting
that's an
character.
insane. Yeah,
And that's where I got Beavis. Beavis and Butthead were that his wife gave me Beavis.
Oh wow. So something good did come of it.
Well, yeah. Beavis, 22 years that damn cat lived. You ever have a cat live 22 years?
Oh, Beavis was your cat's name. Oh, for crying out loud. Oh, rewind and look at how lost I was for 30
We
seconds.
thought everybody knew.
Oh, Beavis, of course. Yeah, I had a cat. My mother-in-law had a cat named Beavis, I believe. Yeah, it was a very popular name.
Well, I had Beavis and Butthead.
Did you really?
But Butthead ran off and went. Right after I got him fixed, and he fucking hauled ass.
Yeah, those were the days, I suppose. So, hey, Chip, you said something the other day that you were still playing. You sat in with somebody over at.
Well, I was supposed to play a gig last Saturday, but it got canceled. So.
Did the gig get canceled? Or? Yeah. Okay.
Somebody was ill.
Well, what are they playing over in that band over there? Now, what is someplace up in Jupiter or something?
Yeah,
It's like an island band with the, is it like a
no,
girl
it's just
singer.
the basic, dude. It's the same old stuff, dude.
Yeah,
it's like Brown Eyed Girl,
Mustang
and,
Sally. I heard you guys talking about Brown Eyed
Lit
Girl on the
and,
on the episode.
yeah,
one.
right. Yeah, it's all the same old shit, man. Joker and what's the fucking Eagles song? Already Gone.
Yeah,
And, you know,
that's all we
But
really
yeah,
need to do.
stupid stuff like that.
I
I sent you the list of stuff I wanted to do.
I read the list, and then I just remember like from decades ago when we did play in a band together, and you're like, I can sing, and then
I was saying that.
Yeah,
Back then I didn't think I could sing at all. What are you talking about?
And then you sent me a link to
Cheap sunglasses.
Die with a smile, and you're like, I can sing that. And I'm like, what are you out of your fucking mind? You can't sing that.
What?
Yes, it's right here. You sent me that Lady Gaga.
Oh no! I didn't say
I can sing the girl part.
No! I didn't say. No! I didn't say I can sing it. I said I would sing it if I had to.
Oh, well, how would that sound?
Horrible.
Two dudes singing it to each other.
It would sound horrible. That's what I'm saying. If I absolutely had to.
Wanna be next to Chip.
I wanted to sing that. That's hilarious.
Lord, man. I mean,
God, I wish you had brought
I'm
your
very
guitar now.
progressive, but
speaking of which, we just went to lunch and I misgendered the waiter every time he was there.
I'm gonna find your text. Anyway, you sent me.
No. I said I'll sing it if I have to.
Okay, all right, okay.
And then it would be completely as a joke, as a lark.
Yeah.
Many a truthful word was said in jest. He was hoping you'd ask him.
Yeah. Sure, that would.
No, I've known for a long time, dude. You hear my voice; it's too low to really.
Yeah.
I mean, I can sing Lou Rawls.
This is my favorite Chip thing. Years ago, he's like, I don't know why singing Journey is so hard. Anybody can sing Journey. I'm like, what do you mean?
Dude,
it goes
I know why you-
just a small town girl. Sounds just like the record.
All right, dude. First of all, you realize the reason I got fired from that band is because I don't sing.
Okay, yeah.
And so, I don't know what you're talking about. Back then, I couldn't even conceive of singing and playing at the same time.
Have you sung it? What do you sing?
Yeah, a little bit, but I'm not any good. I can sing like good, and I sent you the songs I can
I
do.
know. I took a look at it. Yeah.
But I suck as a singer. I'm not a singer. I do it out of pure necessity. That's about it.
Yeah. No,
I remember you used to get little impromptu lessons from that Sandy dude.
Yeah, he was good. The sound guy. He was a good. Everybody I have to take lessons from, along the way. I mean, I'm actually pretty busy for the most part.
Yeah, this band had a sound guy that would sit there and at the soundboard and sing back vocals.
Yeah, and they were good.
Yeah, he was really good.
Nice.
Yeah, he hit me up like, God, I want to say 10, 15 years ago. He was trying to put something together, and I was like, I don't know what he wanted to do, but I think he wanted to try to do originals or something.
Yeah.
Which, look, even if you came to me and said, look, I wrote this song and it was the best song I'd ever heard in my life, what do you do with it?
Yeah, no, I just wrote the best song of my life last week. And
there you go. So where do you put them out?
10 likes. 10 likes. So
where do you put it on YouTube?
Be sure to subscribe and hit that button. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Callmejim.com. There you go. It's a little plug. Hey, listen, anyway, so you went from that band, and then I knew you took off. You went and played in that serious job. I'm going back through time. I went off and I played with this Jimmy Debo guy, and I played in his band for a little while, and then that went pretty good. And that took off into a thing. Boston's on the Beach, Waterway Cafe, those clubs are still around.
Yeah.
Those were good.
Well, Boston's I don't think has entertainment anymore.
Well, they have a stage, don't they?
I don't know, man. If they do, I haven't heard of anybody playing there in a long time.
Yeah, I don't. Well, they redesigned the whole.
Yeah. My buddy Mark did it. Mark
Did he
Diatley.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know those people? Oh.
Well, I know Mark because he worked at the Gathering.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well,
Mark worked at the Gathering, but you didn't know Mark, did you? Doc? Mark Diatley?
No.
Nah, I think he was before your time.
I knew a Doc, but it definitely wasn't him.
No, that's a different Doc, yeah.
What about Abaco's on? Did you ever play at that club there? That was on down sort of like Little North Boynton.
No, I think there was an Abaco's here in Boca somewhere.
Oh yes, and there's one. I think there's one on Clematis now. Maybe there was. I don't really know anymore.
I don't think there's any. Dude, I don't think Abaco's around anymore. There was one on Clematis, but that was years ago.
You ignore this town for 5 minutes and you come back and you're like, what the heck,
Or 5 years.
Where's the movie theater? What happened to the Improv at City Place? It's all gone.
Yeah.
What did they do?
Yeah, I was really sad to see the Carefree go.
Yeah.
Really sad.
Oh, that was even before.
Yeah.
Dude, I saw so many cool shows. I saw Ben Folds 5.
I saw that concert too.
At the Carefree?
I saw Bill Hicks at the Comedy Corner there before when it was at the Carefree.
Dude, here's the funniest thing ever, though. I went there once to watch. It was actually the movie of the Talking Heads, with the big.
Yeah, what was it called? Don't talk too much.
Stop making sense.
Stop making sense.
So we're watching the movie, and I go out, and I'm starving, and the snack bar's closed. And I'm like, well, what the fuck? And I'm like, so back then you could call up and order Domino's. So I ordered a pizza. I went back to a gave him the row number.
Yeah.
I'm like, this row, this seat, come bring me the pizza. I go in there and sit down, watching the movie for about another, half hour. It's been a half hour. I go out there and I'm like, hey, did somebody try to, bring a pizza? And they're like, oh, it was you.
Did they eat it?
No, they wouldn't let them deliver it.
Oh, they didn't.
But they wouldn't sell me anything either. So it was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I've seen some really weird music groups there. I mean, tiny weird acts that you wouldn't think would play.
Well, it's because that's a really
that John
cool,
Prine guy that
group.
was the country guy I was playing earlier today, and
trying
I've
to
seen
think who
They
else.
Might Be Giants there. Which was
I
weird.
actually saw Matt Guitar Murphy there.
I did too. I think I
But
might
that
have
was
been
in
with
that
you.
smaller room. It wasn't even in the
Yes,
main.
yes.
Yeah, that was a great show. That guy was amazing.
And didn't he have the sax player with him?
Yes, I believe he did. Blue Lou. Yep.
Dr. Bob, are you a John Prine fan of the the songwriter John Prine? Isn't he great though?
Tremendously so.
As an aspiring songwriter. By the way, I'm so far on the other side of the hill these days that I'm not really aspiring to anything. I'm just taking the ride down. But as an aspiring songwriter that I once was,
You never know, man.
Oh,
you
yeah?
never
Really?
know.
No, this feels like a slide. I ain't doing no more climbing, buddy. That guy, and I did get to see
you
him
can slide
once.
into home. It's been known to happen.
Yeah, I know. I did get to see him once at the very end down there in Lauderdale. He did the show after because he was sick for a long time,
Yeah, he
and
had
his tickets were
throat cancer.
canceled, and it was just one of. I actually got to take my dad to the show.
That's awesome.
And we saw, and it was just John Prine and his lyrics. Every little line just means
Seen him
something.
3 times, and I wished I could have seen him more.
Just really good stuff. As a songwriter, you can just and you go, wait a minute, what? And they sound simple. Like little simple songs. But then when you listen to the lyrics, you go, oh my gosh, that's a whole book of stuff that guy just wrote about.
Even though he may not have been as popular as I think he should have been, if you look at like the people that sang with him on his albums and stuff, he was very popular amongst other musicians.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like you look at his people that sing on his album, he's got like Mike Campbell from the Heartbreakers doing guitar and Bonnie Raitt's doing backup vocals, and he just seemed to have a really good connection with other musicians.
Again, when I was making my way up the hill and I had dreams, I lived in Nashville for a little while, and every songwriter would talk about how great everybody wanted to write like John Prine, although he had no real hits but everybody said, this is what you do. Every line means something. Every lyric takes you to another place. And
He
brings
wrote a couple of songs for other people but even they weren't really hits, like you said,
Yeah.
Angel from Montgomery, Bonnie Raitt did that song, and he wrote that. And that was, I don't know if you would call that a hit or not, but she certainly got more usage out of that song than he did, even though he wrote it.
Yeah. Well, that's the way it is sometimes, I guess.
A lot of times, actually. A lot of
And
people.
I think he wrote it for a couple of songs for like George Jones and a couple of other country stars.
I read a couple of songs that have taken off a little bit.
Well, I was going to say, look at that guy that just did the Lose Control song. What was that guy's name again?
Teddy Swims.
Yes, Teddy Swims. I mean, you never know, man. You come up with one great song and you're on top of the heap, bro.
Yeah, that sounds like the way it is. But there's a lot more going on, I think.
Well, yeah. I mean, you have to. That's what I'm saying is if you make the great song, you got to have the connection. Or else how the hell do you get it out there? I mean,
I guess, it's funny. How much time do we have here? What do we
Plenty of time.
We have plenty of time.
Hours.
sitting around? There's like different goals in life. You know what I mean? What do you want? It would be nice to be financially secure, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it be nice?
It is.
To not really have to. I mean, I could finally leave my wife. She's watching.
Yeah, I was going to say, she might see this.
No, but it would be great to, and the whole goal I always thought early on was to write some songs and maybe have them out there and have other people do them and be one of those guys that collects checks, which as it turned out with Napster and whatnot, and Napster, how old is that? But, streaming, you don't really make any money. Even I have songs and albums that I released and I get a check like once a year and it's for like $23. And then I look down the list and it's like, I have all these streams of my songs and it's like 0.00002 cents per stream.
Yeah, but you got the right idea though. You got to sell it to Lady Gaga and then get a percentage of that money. Then you're talking.
But as far as if you don't mind me, just as far as fame goes, I worked on cruise ships for a little while. Believe me, I'm going somewhere with this. I worked on cruise ships for a little while, and I would do I was doing that dueling pianos thing, and you'd get on the ship. You'd be on for like 3 weeks, 4 weeks maybe. Not like the people that work on the ship. They would be there for like 6 months. You go on like a guest, you get a special room, whatever, and you go in the first week. Nobody knows who you are. You go do one show, And people are like, hey, they're high-fiving you at the buffet. Second show, people are like, hey, that's the guy. Third show, suddenly people are taking... The final show of the night, Facebook, we love you. Oh, you're the best. Wah! You know, and then the very next day, they leave. New crowd of people come in. I'm just some schlep walking up and down the stairs in his T-shirt. Nobody knows you. Day 2, day 3, day 4, celebrity. Boom, back down to the beginning. Day 3, 4, and that's exactly like the best version of celebrity that I've ever
perfect
experienced.
analogy because that's exactly what happens. Yeah,
perfect. Every week, build up to celebrity. Every week, start from the beginning. And as far as that goes, I don't need people recognizing me at the mall.
Well, I got to say,
or that adult bookstore that I mentioned earlier.
The weirdest part of being minor celebrity that guys like us can achieve is one time I was playing a gig and some guy walks up and he goes, "Hey Chip, how's it going?" And I'm looking at him like, "Hey, how's it going?" I have no idea who this guy is. And he goes, "How's your mom been?" I'm like, what do you mean? Who the fuck are you? I was like, but apparently he knew, me and my mom had met my mom somewhere at a gig or something. I forget what it was, but it was like, how the hell do you know my mom?
There's nothing worse than meeting somebody and not knowing how the hell this will take a moment. And this goes back to the we're talking about substances and stuff from the past and statute of limitations and whatnot. But there was a brief period in time back in the day when I enjoyed a wide variety of chemicals, and most of them were in the form of pain pills and things like that.
Oh, I love those.
So anyway, I'm working at first just gotten the job at Howley's, and I'd straightened up by then. And on my first day there, I meet one of a cook in the back, this guy named Scott, and I don't want to say his last name in case he's watching, but anyhow, he recognizes me, and he goes, "Hey, Rom," and I'm like, "Nice to meet you." And he goes, "You don't know me?" And he goes, "You don't remember me?" And I'm like, "No." And he goes, "I met you at Pete's house." And I'm like, "Pete who?" And he tells me Pete's last name. And I know a guy named that. And I'm like, "Where did Pete live?" And he tells me the name of the apartment complex. And I'm like, "Damn, that is where Pete lived." And then he goes, "You snore like a freight train." He goes, "You got sleep apnea, right?" And I was like, okay, I've never fucked this guy, so he definitely has been around me, passed out on a couch or something, right?
Yeah.
So and then he goes, "I'm not surprised you don't recognize me." And I'm like, "Why is that?" And then he says, "The day I met you, you had more drugs on you than anybody I've ever met." I said, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah, you were like a walking Eckerds." I'll tell you how long ago this was. I don't think there are any Eckerds anymore, but they all got bought out by Rite Aid, which are also
Walgreens.
Walgreens, yeah.
Sure.
By the way, he is my pharmacist.
Oh, is he? Oh, that's great.
Yeah, through trial and error, I figured out what most things do.
No, I mean, if I need to know anything about drugs, I ask him.
But it was a pretty funny moment to realize that, he definitely knows me.
I still have my New York accent when Eckerds.
Eckerds
was the thing. I've since gotten
rid
of it.
That's not New York. That's Long Island.
Eckerds. I don't know. Whatever.
Eckerds on like Island.
Yeah, almost like Saul Rosenberg from the Jerky Boys.
So what'd you do? Did you clean up there, Rom? Did you fly straight?
I don't think you had much choice.
Did you? Oh, okay.
Oh, no,
Good for you. Tell me how it's
fine.
done. I want to know.
What do you mean, how I cleaned up?
Yeah.
Oh, I just aged out of it.
Oh.
You know what I mean? It's a young man's game.
I suppose. Yeah.
It loses, many things lose their luster over time. The hangover is not worth it. The recovery is not worth it. And I don't mess with that anymore.
You see this?
Yeah, I see that. It's not having any effect on you whatsoever.
When does that happen?
You get you a medical marijuana card. That's all you need nowadays.
I'm flying down the hill, going over hills. Whatever.
Shit, I can barely even drink anymore. I went out and had a couple of drinks the other day, and after literally 3 drinks, I was fucking wasted. Yeah. I was stumbling home. I was like, holy shit. I used to be able to drink everybody I knew under the table.
I was never much of a drinker.
Yeah. Oh, I used to be able to pound. I actually had a guy once in Ireland. He was this Irish guy. Yeah, he was like, "What do you got, a wooden leg?" And I'm like, "No, I'm just." I used to be able to drink so much.
My main reason I didn't really indulge much in alcohol when I was younger was for the simple reason that it was legal. It was too square. I had no interest in it.
That is so true.
I had no interest in it.
I've completely lost interest in weed. Completely.
Yeah.
What's the point anymore?
It's not as much fun.
Chip behind the dumpster. What's the point?
It's not as much fun. I agree.
What's the point?
You take the danger out of it.
Walk into a place and I got some woman there.
Well, it's like alcohol was like, that's what old people do. That's what grandparents do.
I got to say, man, he took me to a dispensary the other day, man. And I was like, Jesus Christ, this place is nice.
It was nice,
it was like a freaking, like a really nice hotel with a fireplace and a bar. And
it was very classy, wasn't it? Yeah.
It was impressive.
It's sort of, oh God, I'm not going to do this
Do
again.
you believe there are people still in jail for selling weed?
Yeah, there should be, I guess, some thing for that. I have no idea. Do you now listen? I'll be honest. I got the. It's Florida, so I did get the license. The yearly, is it annual or whatever?
Yeah,
I
so
got
I can.
one.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
And then you have to go. What is it now? The Florida renews every year. Am I right?
The card renews once a year, and then also
once
once per year, and it's like within a 7-month period.
Right.
You need to see the doctor again.
You need to see the doctor again
to get the recertification.
Now, I haven't seen my doctor in a while, so
What are we talking about now?
getting
medical
legal
card.
weed.
Oh, gotcha. I thought we were talking about a
They'll
driver's
send you
license.
an email telling you when you need to go see him.
All right, so what's your...
I'm on the topic of getting legal weed in Florida.
So what's your qualification for getting weed?
All right, well, here's the number one. I had to go, just to be clear, I had to get that Florida thing
were
first.
just talking
right?
about
okay,
this
got
at
that.
lunch, too.
Then I had to go to whatever. There's a place across the street from my house that says, we will give prescriptions. So I said, okay. So I went in. Now, I don't know. I sit and I talk with this lady, Dr. P, I guess her name is. It's P. And then I just sit there and she's like, so, like some kind of hippie lady who, I don't know. I don't want to say, I don't know if she, but I mean, I don't know if she has any other kind of, it does any other doctoring anymore,
right.
But this seems like, I mean, do you go see a doctor for your?
Yeah, you have to.
Well, what is your experience like? Because I feel like mine is weird.
I've been to see 2 different doctors. I'm not going to say the names of either one of them, nor the city in which they operate. However, the one of them was extremely professional, very much by the book, and it's and again, I did not go into this place like looking for them to diagnose me with anything.
Yeah.
I have missing vertebrae in my neck. I got MRIs. When I handed them this
he's
stuff, they were like,
eminently
"Yeah, you're
qualified
fine.
for weed.
Like you're good. You're in the program." So it's not like I had any sort of I didn't have to trick a doctor, so to speak. But the first guy was very thorough and asked me a lot of questions. But then I found another place that would charge like half as amount of money because when it was time to recertify, I didn't want to spend that much money again. And this place was
But you had to go
pretty
through the
fucking
process again?
loosey-goosey. No, because I was already a card holder. All I had to do was go in, and I thought I was going to have to see the doctor. So I go in and I sit down, and this thing is like attached to the back of a head shop. It's like it's not even its own standalone building, right?
About.
And the receptionist starts asking me a couple of questions, and then she goes, "Okay, you're all set." And I was like, "Okay, so what time is my teleconference thing with the doctor?" She goes, "No, you're all good. You're recertified." And I'm like, "Oh, do I have to talk to the doctor?" She's like, "No, I just asked you the questions." Like, she's not a doctor, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I actually saw a doctor.
I think they just have to have a doctor there. I don't even think.
But again, and I also think that it might be wildly different for getting a recertification. Since I was already in the program, I don't think they had to jump through the same hoops.
Once you get the Florida license, you're set there.
Yeah.
So now,
But
even
they
if I
still-
get caught with
but
weed,
even the
I'm
state
like,
of Florida
I still
wants-
got my card.
Well,
The
you
state
got
of
to have
Florida
it in a
still wants you
certain
to pay for that
container.
card every year, so it's $75 a year for the card.
I did actually.
And not only
get,
that, you're not allowed to like have it open when you're driving or be smoking when you're driving. I mean, they're all
It's just
kinds
like
of rules,
alcohol.
right?
Yeah, you can't be having it in the car. You can't be smoking it while you're driving, and you're also technically only allowed to smoke it on private property with the owner's permission, which technically means not if you're in a rental, not if you're
Right.
you have to either own the house
Not
or
at the park.
owner said it. Yeah, not in the
beach.
public, not on the beach, not in your car, even though you own your car.
But what do you think about legalization of all drugs and just be done with it?
well, I mean, there just should be. Well, I mean, I'm pretty libertarian when it comes to a lot of things, But unfortunately, we live in a world of idiots. So, I mean, you can't just let little kids play with fire.
No.
You know what I mean?
Nobody's-
You got at some point, you got to go, hey,
Well-
and, it was in the Book of Mormon that
I played with
not
fire
the
as a
actual
little
book,
kid.
the play that the South Park guys made. They had to come up with rules to keep people from just being crazy. I mean, at some point, there should be some kind of, but at the same time, I believe in freedom, America.
Right. Well, there are plenty of rules against,
Yeah.
things that are bad for people.
Yeah.
I'm not saying make it legal to rob people or anything. I'm just saying let people do drugs if they want to. If they go out and rob somebody, then throw them in jail.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm sort of.
I think, I'm very libertarian. I think you should be able to abort your children up till the age of 5 with an AR-15 or over-the-counter legal fentanyl. It's
Wait
up
a minute,
to you.
Did you say you should be able to abort your children up to the age of 5? Do you know what that means?
Yes.
That means that Casey Anthony is a free woman.
And she is.
Oh,
actually.
she is. Okay, good.
That's
All
right.
Well,
Does she
according
live
to the
around
And
law-
she's on
She like-
OnlyFans now, I
is she
think.
really? Oh, good.
Yes.
All right. Wow. Yeah, but the 13th trimester.
Dude, did you see the dude? Did you see the thing about the? Oh, and then here we go.
That's
Did you see?
freedom for ya.
Did you see the thing about the lady that said the N-word at the
Which
park?
one, Nancy?
No, just like the
Norwegian.
other day.
Negligent. Nazi. Which one? Come on. Say it.
All I can
I'll
think
say
of is
the F or
Caddy.
the R word, but I'm not saying the N word.
All I can think of is Caddyshack.
But anyway, did you see about this chick? All right, so apparently this chick on tape called this little kid in a park the N-word because apparently the kid was going through her bag or something. It was a stupid little kid.
Was he?
He was, in fact, an N. But
Norwegian, the little white kid.
I mean, or whatever.
Yeah,
you
it
know,
looked
but
like
she
one of-
called. But here's the.
And I'm sick of these
crux the
Ouija's coming
story.
over here. And
No. But the crux of the story is she has now made $600,000 on the internet
Oh, well.
for saying the N-word.
wow, maybe we should reconsider.
Yeah. What are we making for this?
Yeah, we're not making 600,000. I can tell you that.
Right. There we go. Food for thought right there. Now, I will say the retard. I will say faggot, which speaking of, Tim Dillon, obviously a gay man, but I would never call him a faggot.
No.
He is absolutely nothing like a faggot.
No.
And there's straight guys I would call faggot before Tim Dillon.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, it's almost more like a term of weakness or an insulting. Yeah, it doesn't.
It's less about sexuality.
Even when I
anymore.
was a kid, when we used it viciously, I mean, we kind of did interchange it, but it definitely was also about weakness and frailty.
Which is funny. I just saw a meme right before I came, and it was like, "What did you call this game?" And it was a picture of the old game.
Smear the queer.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like that's everybody was like, yeah, everybody says that's smear the queer. So everybody at some time in their childhood caught the ball and admitted to being queer.
Yep.
Oh, you Jim, you ever catch the ball?
No, I have maybe. I have like 7 or 8 things going on here, which I'm going. I don't want this on. I don't want this to be something that they're. Nope, that's not gonna. Nope, not that one.
You
Nope.
see, you got your filter on too,
Yeah,
too,
oh,
little
yeah.
too tight. You
That's
loosen that
probably-
filter up a little bit.
Yeah, that's true.
The first thing
but
to
of
remember
course-
is nobody's going to see this.
That's a good
We have
point.
no
You know-
fans.
You know who's going to see it? The 5 people who I told about it.
That's
and,
right.
And you're going to get 5 more views than you did, which
we
should triple your audience.
Probably will. Which is funny is we did pretty good on a couple episodes. And I forget which one it was, but they started posting it everywhere, and our viewership went all over the place. I think it was Super Break guys.
The first
or
two.
something. Yeah,
One and two,
they were posting it everywhere, like on their page, all 3 of their guys' pages or something. Which is weird because that Michael Hill is not Facebook friends with me anymore. I don't know what happened. We used to be Facebook friends, and I don't know.
You know what? While we have a little bit of time, you're talking about people that you know. You would. I was watching episode 1 where you had the Killers on. What was the name of that band?
Flyers.
Okay, whatever. And
They are killers.
yeah,
good.
they're very cool. Though. No, we did see them the other night.
Yeah,
they were pretty
yeah.
good. Yeah, and
You didn't really get to see him though. That was really like a tame version of them. It was not the typical Flyer show.
Well, don't you just love that though when they go into a song like I heard it through the grapevine and the ladies come out and they're all like, and then the guys, obviously on their second marriage.
It's Florida, baby. It's Florida, baby.
And they get out there, I love that. I didn't really stay for the whole show, but they were good though. They were obviously very good. But you were talking about on that episode 1. You should go back and rewatch it. Episode 1, you were talking about the band Them. that played a bunch of really cool stuff in the 90s, which I remember because at the time, I was in a band with Sean Marmello, who goes by Roganart Fuckface now, whatever, I don't know what he goes by. If you go catch him on Facebook, he's Roganart Fuckface. But whatever. But Sean, always very talented, a little bit more, a little special, or, you know,
he's
a little cranky, you know. But
cranky, that's
a little bit of a crank. But, you know, he's a good guy. He's my brother. But anyway, he had that, he took off, he did that band with Mark Cohn, who was the keyboard player, who was great.
That was him.
Who was that guitar? Alex?
No, it was
Frank Extell. And then he had some drummer that was great, and they were blowing out. They were blowing out.
Exactly. When it was just on the radio, yeah,
and it was just right, and they were just blowing out those tunes, and they were just doing great. And you're right. I would go to the Palm Beach Ale House, which I think is still there. Is it still there?
No,
I don't know.
No.
So there's so many other ale houses.
There's
now.
something there, but it ain't the
that
Palm
was
Beach
a jamming joint. And we used to play there a lot, but I'd go see them, and they would rock out. And you're right, the audience would be like, they'd be up there, you know, fire, whatever they would do, and then and then Brown Eyed Girl, and suddenly,
dude, it was John Tolliver that showed me that. It was like we were playing there, and nobody was doing shit, and he goes, "Watch this."
Yep, he's right. Fuck, he's right, man. Oh, we got a few minutes left. The reason I even went into dueling piano...
You got till 5, dude.
Oh, did we? Really?
Yeah,
I didn't really know. I got into dueling pianos because... I don't know. Are you familiar with that at all? The concept of dueling pianos?
I've gone to a few of those bars.
Two guys, they sit the piano, they cross from each other, you take requests all night.
I had every John Valby album. I know it's not dueling pianos, but it is rowdy piano.
But that was very early on. That was the stuff we used to do. Apparently, we can't really get away with, what was the one? There's a lot of them we used to do.
Little raunchy.
You can tell by the smell that she... Yeah.
Yes. There was... dun, 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 today, tell me another verse. Whatever. We used to do... There was a club in Delray that I used to work at that we used to do all those called Hugh Jorgens. And...
I've been there.
Yeah, that was me. Yeah.
Now, is it true that the Mafia owns all those?
No, I don't think so. Not that I would know of.
Not anymore.
You know what the thing is, though? You guys must have known in Del Rey, that drugstore had a big giant neon sign on top of it that says Love's Drugs, and it was owned by the Loves family. Nobody ever noticed that?
In Del Rey?
Right over there in Del Rey. It was just off of Atlantic Avenue on 2nd Avenue, and that's where that club Hugh Jorgens ended up being. And it was so cool because it was Hugh Jorgens at the Loves Drugs building. I mean, who puts a sign that says Loves Drugs on top of the building? I mean, there's pictures of it somewhere.
Marketing
Well, it
genius.
was probably put up like in the 50s or 60s, right?
And we had it all the way up till about 2005, I think, maybe 6. And then they tore it all down and they put up that big parking garage on the corner there, which is there now.
Gotcha.
You know, and so that's what it is. But I mean, boy, that was, and we used to do all those. What are those? The knock, knock. You know, who's there? You know, hickory, dickory, dock. I don't really remember any of them.
Philosophical bullshit, shithouse blues.
I don't know if he did the Confucius jokes, but we did a lot of those, and it was always fun, and it was always in good spirit, and it was always sort of like, don't come in here if you're going to be a jerk. You know what I mean? But you know, as time gone on, you know, I mean, you know.
Well, you get kids start coming in, and then you gotta, you know.
I'm offended. But I think the lack of being. I think that. I'm hoping that being offended is starting to be something that is starting to get out of fashion for a few years. You know what I mean? I'm really hoping for that.
It's apparently a thing with the kids. Like old people don't get offended about anything.
No.
Well, nah, not that much. I mean,
Not really.
The old people
They get
are
offended by
Karens.
different things.
Yeah, the old
It's a
people
different
are
set of
Karens,
things.
but the young people just get offended over like. I'm surprised our waitress, whatever the hell it was, didn't get offended today at lunch. This thing was waiting on us. I kept calling him bro or thank you, brother,
was
or
it a
something.
girl?
I don't know what it was.
Okay, I know.
I think it was a guy,
That's
but it
happened
was
to me.
It was
many
a
time.
guy transitioning to a female.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it was
I don't
somebody
know how
kind
far
of,
along
you know,
he was or she is, but
presenting
that's what
as
was going
something
on.
they weren't.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, or something.
See, I don't think that's my fault for not knowing.
Well, I don't either, but at the same time, I'm literally, it was the first time I did it, I said it to him like, shit, I shouldn't have said that. And I continued to say it all the way through.
And I assured him, I said, as long as it's just you and he knows the difference between your food and mine, I'm not worried about this. You, on the other hand, might not want to eat that.
I do. I was at a restaurant one time and I kept calling the waiter or waitress bro. Thanks, bro. All right, thanks, bro.
Yeah, that's what I kept saying. Thanks, brother.
I think that's a woman, you know, and I'm like, I don't.
I think you just started calling everybody dude.
He looked like the bass player in my band in high school.
Acceptable for women too?
Sometimes
Maybe.
Dude.
I don't know.
Dude. Chicks call each other dude
You
now.
really want to risk it?
I
really don't care.
I don't think
so
those broads like the word chicks.
Yeah.
That's true.
I mean, I don't know how bad it is now,
Broads
but
probably like broads.
Yeah, that was
I worked in
James.
restaurants for years and years, and I saw plenty of guerrilla tactics. I saw, the horrible things that you saw in the movie Waiting, the dandruff and the Parmesan. I've seen all those things done, so it's real.
What
it
were
does
you doing
happen.
in restaurants?
Mostly
We've done
waiting
everything,
tables
yeah.
or managing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we've done everything there is to do in restaurants.
Well,
Other than own them.
I've never cooked in one. I mean, I've stepped in.
Yeah, I was going to
when
say.
I had to send somebody home.
You
but
could if you had to.
I tended bar once, but I wasn't,
See, now
I did
that's
that a couple
unique.
of times, but I hated it.
Yeah, same with me. I don't like because
Hated it
why?
because you can't get away from
That's
the drunks.
it. That's it. When you're stuck behind
stuck,
that bar,
yeah.
I could be having a fucking guy. You give me a hard time, and I'm a waiter. And go, excuse me.
Yeah, you can go away, walk away from
Just
the
walk
table,
away.
but you have to
You
entertain
can't do
them.
that behind the bar. You're stuck back there. You're like,
Yeah, you're
okay,
right. You're
this
right. And
fucking
then
guy.
everybody's problems are your problems.
Right.
But
You know what the
have to
difference-
also, you have to have. You almost have to be an entertainer to be a good bartender.
Right.
Yeah.
But you know what the
The
difference
best
between a
ones-
bartender and a proctologist is?
What's that?
The proctologist sees the assholes one at a time.
Yeah.
I
Well, I
couldn't
got to
do
tell
it.
this story. You remember Troy, right? Troy Kent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we worked at this restaurant, and they had started implementing this policy where I guess the liquor costs got a little high because they were basically giving it away to us. But you had to take a little shot glass and put the liquor in the shot, and then put the. All right. So they would sit there and make the drinks like that, And I'm sitting there across the bar from like this, and we're talking about whatever, and he goes, "Hey, watch this," and because the manager's coming up, and he's making drinks the whole time. And the manager comes up and he's talking to the manager like this, and they're looking each other in the eye. And he's got the pour and the cup, and you're supposed to pour it in the cup, then in the glass. Well, he's got the pour going straight in the glass, going with an empty cup like this,
Yeah, I like that.
right in front of the manager, like
Yeah.
literally this far from the guy's face. The guy had no idea. It's like, oh, that's brilliant. That's freaking
Nice.
brilliant. You remember Silky from High Lie? He was the guy that worked on the other. Oh no, he worked with us, I think, a little bit too. The bartender. He worked for Ogden and not really for High Lie. You don't remember Silky?
No, I don't remember him.
You know,
I wasn't a waiter at High Life, so I didn't interact
Oh,
with the
no shit. I
bartender.
thought
No,
you were
I
a
was
waiter.
like a busboy.
No shit. I thought
Yeah.
you were waiting there.
Can I be highlight? What is that? A North Lake Boulevard
On,
there?
it was on
45th Street.
45th
Yeah,
Street.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we used to work
sorry.
there when I was
Oh,
open.
did you?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
restaurant
I-
part was called Sala del Toro, like living room of the bull.
Oh.
And I was a busboy.
Salad of the Bull.
I never went in there. I just drove past it many times.
Dude,
and thought,
I used to
wow.
actually play High Lie.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh, with the little
Well, what happened is, dude,
like catching butterflies, isn't it?
I was waiting tables.
It's pretty fun.
I know.
It is actually a lot of fun. Once you get over the fear, because it is fucking scary as
I
shit.
know, it does.
But dude, I'm waiting tables, and the players go on strike. All right, and then next thing you know, I'm like, hey, where's my busboy? Oh shit, he's number 5. I swear to God, my busboy's out there playing High Lie. I'm like, what the hell? And he'd only started playing 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh shit, maybe there's. And I got this close to becoming a pro freaking High Lie player. I was literally playing in front of the guy that would have hired me, and my knee blew out. It was a lot of fun. That was a fun game. But yeah, I seen the worst wipeout ever at that place. You remember that guy JD? He was also a busboy.
Is that the footage you showed me of the pelota coming up and hitting that guy in the head?
Oh yeah. That was
was
from
that
there,
you're talking
yeah.
about?
But anyway, listen. So this guy, remember how you'd have the trays, and you could make like a giant.
Yep.
And these things would be so heavy, the sides of the trays would be like, and you had to carry them up these fucking flights of like 8 flights of stairs.
Yeah, that's why this wrist only goes that far back. I destroyed my hand with those trays at High Life.
Oh no shit!
The whole tray came down on it and bent my hand back, and it's ever since that day. It's been
that's
as
hilarious.
far back as it goes.
Well, this guy is charging up the stairs with this giant tray full of shit and trips. Oh fucking thing goes. And this place, you can like at a certain time, you could hear a pin drop anywhere in this building, and this made the most noise and commotion I'd ever. And the guy did the best thing I ever seen. He didn't even slow down. He just got up, just kept going. Just didn't even look back. Just kept going.
Nice.
Walked in the kitchen.
Do you remember the national anthem trick? So every night at 7:00 when the games would start, they would play the national anthem, and everybody who worked there, and pretty much everybody there, had to stand up, salute the flag, and nobody was allowed to move. So there was no food running. There was nothing gets done. If you could be we had the little side room where they pressed the linens and stuff and did rolled up the silverware. If you could arrange to be in that room when the national anthem started, you had like 65 seconds to do a line, do anything you wanted to. No manager is going to walk in and see you. Nobody can see you. There's no cameras in there, and there was cameras everywhere because of the pari-mutuel and the betting. So they had a lot of CCTV. But this was like a blind spot. And if you were in that room where the laundry press was, you had like a minute and 5 seconds to do any damn thing you wanted to before the song was over.
Man, dude, I used to have it made there, man. It was unbelievable. I used to go in at about 12 or 1, play high-lie till about 4. After that, I'd go up to the kitchen where they had a shower. I'd get showered up, get ready for work. My best friend Jerry was the chef, so I'd basically pick anything off the menu that I wanted to eat, have some nice dinner, and then work that night playing, as waiting on the tables. And the thing is, the whole thing there is everything happens at once. Like everybody comes in the beginning, they eat, and then after by about game 5, you're done. There's only, unless you got a table that's drinking a lot, which they can only drink so much, before they get too plastered. So you're pretty much done. And I used to just wander I used to go up to where they used to keep score and hang out in there for, with John Post and Bobby.
And even though I was only a busboy there, I was friends with you and some of the other waiters. It seemed to me like the determining factor of whether you had a good night had nothing to do with how much you sold. It all had to be how much did your customers win.
Yeah.
If they won money, then they tipped the hell out of you.
Yeah, that's true.
But if they lost all their money gambling, then you might still get a 15%, but you're not getting anything extravagant.
Yeah. It was interesting. I learned it. That's where I learned how to gamble and play cards and gamble. And lessons are expensive. Poker playing lessons are very expensive.
They had poker there?
No, I used to play with the guys after work.
Like
okay. Perfectabill and professional gamblers.
Right, because they had poker at the dog track, so I thought maybe they had it there too, and I just didn't know.
No, there's no cards there. It was just professional gamblers, and they'd go play cards afterwards. And I used to like to play poker, so I'd be like, "Yeah, I'll go play poker." Lose a couple $100.
Is that when you lived with Sheridan?
Probably. No. Actually, I was living on Ware Circle then, because I remember it was just straight up village. I could go right to there. You ever work at a gambling establishment?
No. Well, of course, I've worked on cruise ships. So
that's true.
You always have to, but I'm not very good at gambling.
No, me neither. I suck at gambling.
I think I'm going
to
win.
I never won anything.
I think the only two ways to be good at gambling are to own the casino or cheat.
Yeah.
I don't think you can mathematically be good at it.
Hey, what do you got on this list over here, Chip? I'm kind of curious. I can't stop looking at it over there.
Let me start.
Talk about something that.
Let's start from the bottom.
What's that building on North Lake that always has birds on top of it? I thought that was the highlight. Anyway, go ahead. That just seems like it's just like a house of birds on. Maybe it's 45th Street. Why doesn't 45th Street ever take off? Anyway, what do we got going on?
Oh, I got Death of Shame on here. We already talked about that.
Okay, I don't know anything about that.
See, my freaking writing's so bad I can't even read it.
Well, there you go. Well, then in the 90s, we played in bands, and then,
We're getting into the controversial weeds here now.
Okay, here we go. Politics.
If you think Jews control the weather, does that make you anti-Semitic?
Depends. Do you like the weather?
Well, I mean, I would say that, I would say that's attributing the Jews with a lot of power. I don't know that that's a bad thing. I mean, if they've got the power to control the weather, it doesn't mean you don't like them. That means you think they're very powerful.
I think they're powerful in certain areas, certainly in media. I don't think they control the weather.
Yeah.
No. I don't think it.
Ron, you look like you could be a little Jewish, are you?
I have some Jewish ethnicity, yeah.
I think everybody's got a little bit of Jewish in them, I suppose, but,
I'm cheap.
Never had a bar mitzvah or anything, so not really Jewish. My mother wasn't Jewish, so Jews wouldn't consider me Jewish, but...
I'm saying...
We were talking about, what is it, the contrails.
This is kind of deep. I didn't know it was going to get this deep, but I mean, if you read the Bible, it's all about Jews. I mean, Jews.
Well,
and then suddenly
they wrote
in the
half
New Testament, I don't know what happened. It kind of takes a turn there. But whatever, just follow along, try to be a good person. But, do Jews control the weather? No, I don't think they do. I don't think anybody.
I don't think that's the question. It's just a matter of whether you're being anti-Semitic if you think
and
that. And
I also don't think that anybody controls the weather. I think we have technology that can affect the weather, but that's a far cry from saying they have control over it.
No.
And the other thing I always wondered about is, the Zionists always say, that this whole struggle and is about self-determination, right? Isn't that what they claim? the whole struggle with Gaza is about their self-determination, or what is the phrase they use?
I don't know.
But anyway, the point being that, like, if they're so self-determined, why didn't they just settle where they where they lived in the first place? Like, who would self-determine? Like, yeah, I want to go from here where I live and move to a desert, where maybe my biblical land, but why? Who would want to do that?
Well, I mean, there's a huge difference between what the history of the Jewish people written in the Bible is and what we actually have archaeological evidence to prove. You know what I mean?
Oh, like, I was talking about just recently, and about like
you were talking about going way back.
No,
as
I was
to
talking
the original,
about like the Jews from World War II that lived in like Poland and Russia and Czech, in that area.
Oh, you're saying why didn't they just stay there?
Yeah, why? If you're gonna self-determination and create a state, why not create it there? Why would you go to?
I mean, because at that point,
is it completely because of the biblical reasons? Because they think that's their.
No, I would say that it probably had more to do with the fact that was just the last in a series of pogroms that had occurred in Eastern Europe.
Probably nothing left there.
And at
either.
a certain point, if you were given an opportunity to go somewhere else, at that point you might say, yeah, maybe we should just.
Well, I imagine post World War II, that area probably looked like Gaza looks right now. Yeah. So why stay there?
Yeah, there probably wasn't much reason to stay. And then, like, they had a lot of fond memories there, recently.
Well, I mean, but if your whole, family went back for generations there, you'd probably have some kind of attachment.
Yeah, but but I think you and your whole family would want to leave. I mean, if the nation is blaming you for everything, why would you want to stay?
It's true.
The resentment is still buried under,
Well, it doesn't seem to bother them currently where they're at. So, apparently, there's some people that aren't real crazy about them being there.
Yeah, but now they're dealing from a position of strength as opposed
true.
to the position they were in before. It's quite different. I'm not saying they're morally correct, but it is a different position.
Yeah.
Is this going to be on PBS?
No, they got defunded.
Oh, that's true.
NPR
Hey, what about rock and roll? Don't you guys talk about rock and roll at all, or music,
or hit
hit
songs,
songs,
or
or
all we ever have talked
anything
about?
I can contribute? Because I don't give a shit about this shit. I can care less. I feel like I'm getting bored.
It's funny.
I love the Jews. They're very fascinating people. And
Hey, we
they're
all love-
enemies.
we all love
Everybody,
Jews.
I love
We all
them.
love Jews. We
But
just
I mean,
hate
come on,
Zionists,
can't we
though.
just talk about Steve Lukather or Toto or something that I can piano or guitar or anything that I'm qualified to be part of?
Hey, did you ever see that Weezer song when they pay homage to Van Halen?
I've never heard of them either. No, I'm just kidding. All right. Oh my God, your taste in music sucks. No, what? Come on.
No, the one. Have you ever seen the one where they pay homage to Van Halen?
No.
It's a song called something got the game or something like that. Oh, it's hilarious. It's like all Van Halen riffs. They even spell out Weezer in the Van Halen font.
That's cool, I suppose.
Oh, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
And
It's a pretty damn good song.
You ever wonder why somebody as good looking as Eddie Van Halen and someone as hot as Valerie Bertinelli gave birth to that weird looking kid? Does that ever occur to you?
He's kind of a large.
I don't know
dude,
that I'm trying to picture the kid. I don't know that I've seen footage
He's
of
a
the
big
kid.
fat kid.
Oh,
Or he used to be. He used to be pretty fat.
He's the new bass player for Van Halen.
Oh, okay.
Well, he was. He replaced Michael.
He plays
Anthony.
guitar too, I think.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Well,
anyway. All right. Back to geopolitics.
Oh, one of the things I did have to do. How about Zach Starkey getting fired from the Who?
Well,
how the hell do you get fired from the Who?
Well, I don't
for
know.
For being too loud.
They didn't fire the other guy. Keith Moon stuck around.
Exactly.
He had to quit.
How do you not? I mean, how do you get fired from the Who as a drummer? That's what I want to know.
I don't know. That guy
for playing too loud.
Pete Townsend seems like he's a little bit of a.
First of all, Pete Townsend is deaf as a stone.
What?
How do you get fired for being too loud from the Who? That's just insane.
At least he didn't burst into flames.
Yeah.
Oh, I think they have a new Spinal Tap movie coming out.
Jeez. Absolutely.
Yep.
Which, by the way, if you are interested in that sort of thing, they did sort of have a sequel to it called Mighty Wind. Which was
that's about the folk
version
seen
of
that, right?
No.
Spinal Tap.
Oh my God, you would love it. It's all about folk music.
Nice.
Oh, it's hilarious.
And that was actually pretty good.
Are
They
all
had
the-
all the same characters. And
All those guys are still alive, right? The whole cast, I think.
It was the same three, the same three dudes, Harry Shearer and whatever, and Michael McKean and
Christopher Guest.
Yeah, Chris. Thank you. And they played a folk band, and they were great in that. It was basically Spinal Tap, but it was folk. So
Well, it wasn't so much. It was less mockumentary.
Yeah.
Well, it was still a bit of a mockumentary, but
Of course
just
it was.
Yeah, but less.
There was
of,
Eugene Levy had an album out, and he was like, and it was called "A Cry for Help," and he was like in a hole digging a grave, and it's like we should have seen the signs.
Yeah, it seems slicker like a movie than
Yeah.
Spinal Tap.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it goes. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Spinal Tap didn't have too many like other stories going on. It was pretty much always about Spinal Tap.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that was all of them. This did have more going on.
Is that the same group that was behind Best in Show?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
there you
yeah,
go.
that was a great
Yeah.
movie too.
Yeah,
Yeah, because this movie's more like Best in Show.
Right.
It's more like not quite as much rockumentary looking, raw,
And something for Guffman, the one
Waiting for Guffman?
Waiting for Guffman,
Yeah.
which is another really good one. That's another one of
remember
those
that one. I
same
know the name.
crew.
What was the
Right.
premise of that one? I forget.
They had to put on a play. They had to put on a play, and they had the Christopher Guest played the over drama guy.
Yeah. I vaguely remember
Yeah.
that
That'd
one.
be
Yeah.
great.
I don't know that one as well as the
Yeah,
other
well,
ones.
it's
But
worth-
yeah.
it's worthy.
Yeah, those guys are all genius. Those are all great
It's
movies.
almost as entertaining as this.
You know who else makes a
Try.
pretty, You know who else makes a pretty damn good movie?
Yeah.
Them Coen brothers.
Yeah, they do. What was that? Was it the one No Country for Old Men with that guy shooting people with a nail?
Yeah, with the doll haircut.
Yeah.
I think their first movie was Blood Simple. That was great too. They've been doing them since.
What was it? Was their first one?
Blood Simple.
What the hell is? I never heard of that one.
It's like a noir thriller. And then after that,
What was their first big movie?
Miller's Crossing,
I don't know. I'm drawing a blank on that one too.
Hudsucker Proxy.
That one.
Raising Arizona. That's
Okay,
probably
there
their
you go.
first big.
That's their first big hit.
That's probably their first
That's a
big
great
one.
fucking
Fargo. I bet that was after.
Yeah,
but that was a pretty big hit.
Yep, Fargo, and then of course.
Are you kind of a movie guy there, Ron?
If it's like directors that I really like that
Yeah?
I've seen all their stuff, but like not in general. I'm not a movie guy.
You like the what's the one you like with Clooney?
Oh, what?
Batman.
Oh, brother.
Batman.
Oh, brother, where art thou?
Batman. That's the one. That's the one he was in. I love that one.
That was not bad.
He should have got an Academy Award for that.
Wasn't as
And it
good
was
as
that
Val
Chris
Kilmer.
O'Donnell. And who's that fat chick that was played Batgirl? Alicia Silverstone.
Yes.
Is that her name?
Oh, she in that?
Yeah,
She was in
yeah,
that,
That
yeah.
was his. That was the best.
That's the one that
Clooney
had.
movie
That
ever.
was the one where they had nipples in the suit,
Yes,
right?
and
yeah.
and who was Schwarzenegger was the villain.
Mr. Freeze.
Yeah, and Uma Thurman. Oh man, I tell you, they just don't make movies like that anymore.
Thank God.
Yeah. And then they come back with Christian
God,
Bale.
how many Batman have there been?
Buttload.
There's got to be at least a dozen.
Yeah,
right?
oh yeah, and there's quite a few more that were before
Yeah, yeah,
even Adam
Adam
West,
West
like
and-
old
yeah,
black
yeah,
and
yeah,
white
yeah.
ones. It was a really popular IP before it got rebooted a dozen times.
To just think of how many people can actually look at the camera and go, "I'm Batman."
There have been many, and the different styles too, from super campy to the Nolan ones, which were pretty grounded, and then the newest ones with that Robert Pattinson guy are even more grounded.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did like the Joker
They weren't
movie.
bad either. They weren't bad.
I'm detecting a nerd over here.
Yeah, they weren't bad.
Did you even watch that cartoon in the '90s with that was great? The Batman cartoon in the '90s.
Oh yeah, I watched that all the
that
time.
one
Yeah.
with what's his face? Did the voice?
Kevin Conroy.
Yeah,
Of course, and I
hell
played
yeah.
all the Arkham games
Of
too because
course, so
he
did
does the
I.
voice for all of them.
I think the last one with the Batmobile was a little bit of a challenge. They
The Batmobile
were
was
jerking you around a little
retarded.
bit.
Those underground mazes with the Riddler were ridiculous.
Yeah.
Are we
one's
talking
gonna
video
100%
games
that
now?
game.
A
Yes,
little
yes. Sorry, suffer indulgence.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm like, come on, guys. You know,
Hey, you had to suffer through Beavis, so
Yeah, but those are solid games.
Yeah.
I never played Arkham Origin. I haven't played that
Not
one.
either. I
But the three big ones I played.
But I do know when the first one came out, the first Arkham Asylum. Sorry, Chip.
No, go
the
ahead.
first I played that overnight. That was one of those
Yeah.
things where I got
binged it?
and then my wife went to bed and got up the next day, and I was still there.
Still playing.
And you know how this is so funny because I was sitting on the couch. And I stopped counting how many hours I was playing that game. I was just playing it, and then I would get up and go to the bathroom, and then I would come back down and sit up and go. And eventually, I started counting not hours, but peas. How many peas have I been playing this? I've been playing this game for like 7 peas now.
Dude, I called him once. I called him once to tell him I had lost a whole day playing Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah, right.
Just a day just was vanished. I was like, what happened to Tuesday? How did it become Wednesday already?
I talked him into getting this game. And he even went out and had got a new computer and everything for it, right? And I created a monster. I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah, but after you get through the game, then it's like, okay, now what?
Yeah, but what do you have, over 2,000 hours in that game?
I don't know. Maybe.
Easily. Easily 2,000 hours in the game, of a game that he didn't even really want to play in the beginning. And he was never a D&D nerd, didn't get any of the lore, didn't care about any of that shit, you know?
Yeah. It was a fun game. But the thing is, once you get through it, it's like it's a weird game because it's more like a movie.
Right.
You're really, like...
I mean, the only replayability is that you could go back and do it with a different
different characters. But
even
after a while,
you still kind of know what's going to happen.
Exactly. It's after you've done it a couple of times, like, okay, this is boring.
Yeah, I don't want to get into a whole video game thing here, but do you like video games? Do you get
I
into
do.
Yeah. I'm a big Fallout guy. I played a bunch of those. You familiar with that at all?
I've played all of those. Well, not all. I didn't play the first 2.
No, neither did I.
Nobody played the top down ones.
So what's Fallout?
It post-apocalyptic
first shooter.
Well, now it is, but the first 2 games were like top down, like strategic.
It's cliche now to do something like post-apocalyptic, but what's so great about those is that it's done as if it's like made in the 1950s.
Yes.
So like all of the aesthetics in the future, the robots
and it's like
are
an
all,
alternative.
It's kind of this weird 1950s vibe.
Yeah, like what if atomic power had... We started putting it in microwave
ovens. They've been doing that a lot on Facebook. They take like newer stuff and make it all look like that. Yeah, make it like retro-y.
Have you seen Atom Fall?
No, I haven't seen that one. Is that good?
I haven't played it yet, but I've watched a lot of it, and it looks to be basically Fallout, but set in the UK.
Oh, okay, that's
it's like
cool.
all British. Everything about it is British. And then have you seen Tainted Grail?
No, I haven't.
That's the new Skyrim. That's going to be the big daddy, I think.
That's again,
the next big game.
I really kind of feel like I've owned every single Nintendo that had a Zelda on it.
Yeah.
I don't, and then I throw it out. My Switch, I don't even know what it's used for.
But I'm so glad you brought this up.
But I should be home practicing my chops and learning how to play music better, by the way.
Do you own a handheld device of any kind?
You're as good as you're ever going to get.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'm already downhill.
Like talking about old retro games, right? Do you have any kind of handheld emulators to play like old NES games or Sega Genesis or even Atari 20, any of that shit?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them you can play now on the Switch, which I went back and played a couple of the old Zeldas, but and then also I have all of them. I don't throw any of this stuff out. I got a whole.
Oh, you got all your old consoles?
Oh
man, I'm jealous.
Yeah,
some of those are worth money now too, right?
Yeah. No, I brought them into the GameStop.
Oh, they
said, "Yeah, get out of here, kid."
I actually had a ColecoVision when I was a kid. That was the rarest one I ever had. Was I had a ColecoVision.
Wow, holy 1970s childhood.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had NES, Coleco, Genesis, PlayStation 1 and 2.
I think we had Odyssey, which was different. It was Magnavox.
Yes. That was wasn't that the other version of the Intellivision?
Yeah, it was a slightly, everybody had Atari.
Right.
And then a few kids had Intellivision, and then a few kids had the Odyssey, and we had the Odyssey. I don't know why. Just better graphics or something. Yeah, I don't know. But who would know, man? That was the era where you would take your paperboy money and ride to the arcade and spend your $15, $20 or whatever.
And at least in the arcade, you could play good
Twinkies
games
and Pepsi. Holy Christ! How old am I? Yeah.
I got pretty good at
playing
Defender.
good games though, but goddamn. The 2600, that first Atari system, those games sucked.
Yeah,
balls.
terrible. Yeah.
Even then, you knew you were playing. You were like, well, this is all I got.
Yeah.
Like, you knew that was the case. Nobody was under the illusion that this is pretty good for at home. No, this sucks.
How my dad didn't get in on the early evolution of video gaming is beyond me, because literally my first year of college, 1981, I was going to the University of Florida. I was living with my dad. My dad's wife was a nurse at Shands Hospital. He would use her ID to sneak our way into the hospital and get to this computer where back then this was a big deal. He could log onto this computer and play some kind of like flight simulation thing with people all over the country. And I mean, it's like graphics were horrible, like, lines of a plane or whatever. But that was like the breaking, like, you couldn't believe you could do that. And how he didn't get on the ground floor of that, I don't know. I mean, even back then, we used to go to the student union where there were a bunch of videos, because me and my dad he was the one that would take me to the arcade. I'd be like, yeah, what do you want to do? I don't know. Let's go to the arcade. I'm like, yeah, shit, oh yeah. So we would go to the student union arcade, and back then, you remember the game Asteroids? Mm-hmm. We played a prototype of Asteroids before Asteroids ever came out. Asteroids normally has one ship, right? The version we played had 2 ships, 2 players. It was the same game, but 2 guys flying around shooting stuff instead of 1. Not only that, there was a sun in the middle.
Okay, that's not a prototype of Asteroids.
Okay,
I can't think of the name of the fucking... Are you talking about
Tempest? Is that's a
no,
different?
No,
are you sure? You know what I'm talking about?
I do know what you're talking about. I want to say it was called Polestar or something like that. But there was. I know the game you're talking about.
Gravity on
and yes, the sun had a gravitational pull. That was.
But anyway, I thought that was before Asteroids, wasn't it?
It was before Asteroids, but that's not like the prototype. Asteroids. It's a separate thing.
That disappeared.
But I do know the game that you're talking about, and it was a really original, old school
We'd never seen the game before. We used to go to this place just to play that game. I was like, wow, check this game out.
All right, I'm going to dig. I'm going into, I guess, the early, late 70s. I'm 55 now, so around 1970s. So I was a kid born. I think I remember Space Invaders being the first one. Is that was there one before Space Invaders? As far as like
for home or like in the arcade?
As like when you go into the,
I do think you're right.
Yeah,
to the department store.
Yes, I think you're right.
Next to the cotton candy and the popcorn machine, there would be like one arcade, and I remember the first one ever to put quarters in was Space Invaders.
There was Pong. There's Pong first.
Pong was, I don't remember.
Yeah, but that's just.
I've never seen Pong outside of the home.
I guess I'm talking about the department store.
Dude, I used to play Pong in lounges of hotels. They used to have tabletop versions in the lounge.
I never saw that, but yes, I do think
Space Invaders I don't remember.
If not the first, within the first 3.
Asteroids and Space Invaders were like the 2 that I remember, and then Pac-Man came out. It was like a little colorful stuff.
And I think Defender might even have been out before Pac-Man.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Defender was kind of later. Do you remember that silly one
Tempest, that was a good one too.
Do you remember that silly one where the knight was on like the weird flying ostrich looking thing?
Joust.
Yes. That was the weirdest game.
Yeah, Joust. As long as you were above your opponent, you had to hit them from above. And they would drop an egg.
It was so weird. It's so weird. So and I mean some of the imagination of what you could do with a stick and a button, truthfully. I mean, you got to come up with something. I mean, nowadays there's controllers that have like 80 freaking inputs and stuff.
Some of those older games, even though they're the limitations of the graphics, they still hold up really well. Like if you look at the original TIE Fighter or the X-Wing game for Star Wars, where you're dive bombing the Death Star, and it's all just white lines. It's all just like a
Are you
grid.
talking about the one that was at the department store?
Yes.
That one, yeah.
That game is still sweet. That game is still plays well.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't remember that one.
Great sound.
That was exactly those same little white lines from, and then you did dive into the trench, and you flew around in there.
I remember that one.
Obi-Wan's voice,
Yeah.
Luke, trust in the Force. Everything was exact. The John Williams score playing in the background. That was a hell of a game.
No way my mother could buy me shoes when that game was at Modell's or whatever.
That was one of those 50 cents a play bastards. They knew they had you.
Forget about it. No, you're not getting me out of here.
You sit down in the cabinet, you're almost like you're in an actual. Yeah, it was amazing.
Mother trying to buy me tough skins.
We were discussing before you got here the fact that so many people think that we're basically in a video game. We're in a simulation.
Oh, I've heard that too.
Yeah, that's a new religion I think that they're coming up with. It explains,
I would, I don't.
So much with Jesus, we're all just in a video game.
Some people say we're just, in the middle of a giant's eye or something. That was on Game of Thrones. So I don't know if you followed that at all.
I did until I didn't want to anymore.
Yeah, I read the books. Forget about it.
I did too.
I never watched
Sad
Game
about
of Thrones. Never watched that.
I hold him personally responsible.
Well,
he's never going to finish
he's
him.
Done.
He's never going to finish him.
They didn't have a final season because there's no final season.
It's his fault.
They had to make it up.
Yeah, it's his fault.
Yeah,
he's been dicking around for too long.
Yeah, and he's got like 7 other shows going on. Finish the last book already, for crying out loud.
He hasn't even finished the second to last book. The last book will never get written.
Oh, he's going to break it up into 2 now. George R. Martin. That's what you get when you get somebody with 2 middle initials that are the same. Never again.
Right? He stole them from Tolkien.
Yeah. James R. Tolkien. Who do you think you are? Yeah, anyway, though. It's good stuff, though. I learned a lot of stuff from Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Did you? You know, I mean, you never got into it.
I never watched it. No.
Yeah. There's like a scene in like the second season or something where the dragon princess is trying to. She's all pissed off because they stole her dragons, you know, and they're hanging out in that town, that other place, you know. And there's this big dude, and he's like, "Oh, I can't see how someone as lovely as you could be affected by this." And she goes, "I am immune to your flattery." And he said, "I have been from one end of this earth to the other, and I have yet to meet a woman who is immune to flattery." That is true. Absolutely works every single time. You walk into the motel or the hotel you're checking into, and she's in a bitchy mood, and you tell her she looks nice. Boom.
Dude, I saw the funniest thing today.
How much is that? Is that sexist?
Sure. Yeah. Of course it is. Oh, we're huge misogynists. We've already admitted to that.
Same.
Dude, I saw the funniest thing today. It was one of these.
Hey, Ron, that hat looks great on you, by the way.
Thanks.
Yeah, look at that.
I'm waiting all day to do
videos
that.
on Facebook. There's a bunch
Go
of
pick up
black
some
guys.
chicks after this.
Bunch of black guys and this black chick, and they're showing her this clip of a guy basically saying, you know, he's pretending he's Adam and Eve, and Adam's like, you know, we got it made here. We got everything we need. We got food. We got water. We'll never die. All of our fantasies will come true. And then they go. Eve says, "It's just not enough."
Yeah.
And they
said
show
Bill
this
Hicks, right?
black chick, and the chick's just kind of looking there, and they go, "Well, what do you think of that?" And she goes, "I was expecting more." That's exactly what she said. I swear to God. And everybody just started cracking up. And it's like, the guy's like, "Yeah, I think that's the point he was making." Just expecting.
That was a
more.
Bill Hicks joke, right?
Oh, I don't know. It was Bill Hicks was not. Oh, you know, it was probably the Bill Hicks clip.
Yeah.
They were showing the black chick, and she's like, "I was expecting more."
Yeah, I think I can hear his voice saying that bit.
It's hilarious. It's like, yeah, that's exactly the point we're trying to make. But you love women.
Huh? Well, it makes life more difficult, but apparently more rewarding. I don't know. I suppose it does.
It makes life significantly easier. I got to say, in a lot of ways, having a significant other.
Yeah, I mean, no,
but it does get to be a pain.
I mean, I would imagine if those gay dudes got it pretty easy. You don't have to live with a woman.
Dude, you want to hear something funny? We have a gay friend that was over at my house the other day, and I was telling him about the podcast. He's like, "Oh God, you guys are perfect for that kind of thing. That's great that you guys are doing that." I'm like, "Yeah, I think Ram and I, if we were gay, we'd be the perfect couple." He just started cracking
Not
up.
the same height, though. We can't share wardrobe. That's the
No,
problem.
that's that
true.
big.
yeah, because I could see how that would be a big bonus.
Yeah.
But he fucking cracked up about that. He never laughed. I'd never seen him laugh that hard. Brad.
Oh, I was going to ask you if it was Jeff or Brad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually at this point now. I think we're going on like decades now. The wife and I, and it's like when I'm out of town, I just. I need a girl to hang out with. I don't even know how to, you know what I mean? If I hang out with a dude, we're both lost. I just need to find, if I'm in town and I'm working with like a piano player who's a girl, I'm like, come on, walk me through the grocery store. I don't even know how to, you just get too, reliant on it, after all these years,
Your fitted sheets probably get folded.
Well, yes.
I've never been able to fold a fitted sheet in my life.
Let me tell you,
I don't think it's possible.
That's not the relationship we have. Yeah, no. So the laundry is separate. I don't know. This is the first thing you got to do if you're going to live with a woman. Do your own laundry, because I at first we got together. This is many years ago, and it was like your turn to do laundry, and I would do laundry, and it would be like this pile of her crap and 2 T-shirts and a pair of underwear for me. And I'm like, from now on, you do yours, I'll do mine, because I don't know what for some reason men can wear 2 T-shirts and a pair of underwear in the time it takes a regular woman to change a lot of clothes.
They also have actually more numbers of clothing than we require. They've got at least something. They have to wear something on top, and
and yet
many times there's accessories and scarves and shawls. And,
I mean, just think about how many names they have for a shirt.
That's true.
I mean, clearly they don't just think shirt. They've got like 15 different names of styles of shirts. So you got to have one of all of those. Yeah, I have shirts and pants and shorts. That's pretty much it.
What comes after blouse then?
I don't know. What are some
tank? No,
tube top.
That's true. Tank top. Yeah.
Is there something called a camisole?
Could be.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Oh, wait a minute. I thought that was an umbrella.
Maybe.
Isn't that like that umbrella thing that you? I don't know.
All right.
Who knows?
Well,
That's a parasol.
there probably
it's
are.
close.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
probably a lot
sure,
more
right.
names for them, but I don't know what they are because I don't have them.
Wow.
Ask your wife when you next see her. How
I
many
will.
different names for shirts can you think of?
That's an interesting subject. How do they come up with some of the names? Like, who said that's called a blouse? I'm sure there's some
I don't know the etymology of each of these
etymology
words,
of it, but
I'm going to guess blouse is French, but
yeah, that's a
it was
good guess.
probably originally
Good guess.
blouse
Here's
or
the
something
one
like
word
that.
I actually know the what etymology.
Etymology.
Of the word copper or cops as referred to for police. And that's from the 1800s in Boston. The police wore copper buttons. So they got called coppers. And just think, every word has some kind of story like that.
Yeah, most of them do. Yeah.
Well, nouns anyway.
Torque. Put a little torque on that. Where did that come from? Torque. I mean,
That's
it
probably
sounds like you're pulling something.
That's probably a scientific term of some sort.
Just saying.
Torque or twerk?
Torque.
Like
No,
a torque wrench.
Oh, okay, yeah.
T-O-R-Q-U-E.
Torque I can see.
I think
Yeah,
that's
you're twerking.
I think torque is an abbreviation of some longer Latin word or something. But
Torque,
again, I don't know. Torquelation or torque. I have no idea. I'm just talking out my ass. No idea.
A lot of them come from Latin, that's for sure. The dead language, the dead forgotten language. Could you imagine meeting someone who said they spoke Latin in this day and age?
Well, I mean, priests still speak ecclesiastical Latin.
Yeah, but I mean, they probably just learn phrases from the Bible or something,
No,
though, right? They actually communicate in that
They
language?
can speak Latin. Now, no idea if what they're pronouncing is the way they
that's what
pronounced it when Romans spoke Latin, but
But you're
they
telling
can
me, too,
speak
these
it.
priests could speak to each other about something anything
Some
in
of them,
Latin.
yes.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
I mean, not every one of them. Some of them probably do just memorize what they got to do, but no, some of them can speak it.
God, that must be torturous.
Amazing
to
how
have to
none of
learn
the
that.
Spanish people I know speak Latin, which is weird.
Right?
Yeah, right? You'd think.
Yeah.
I took Latin for 3 years in high school.
Really?
Yeah. It was pretty interesting.
Wow. But then I guess that gives you a lot of the roots of all the regular. Yeah.
Quite a few.
I was going to say, how did you do it 3 years in high school?
At Twin Lakes.
It was elective every year?
Yeah.
No shit.
Did you remember anything from?
Very little.
Okay.
I certainly don't remember any of the conjugations or things like that, but I do
I don't even
remember.
remember that being awful.
I do remember the difficulty of it, and I do remember that, like, when you construct a word or a sentence in English, you have your subject and your predicate and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But in Latin, every single word in that sentence has a meaning, like whether it's the direct object or the indirect object, and depending on what it is, the ending of the word changes. So it's like, you know how we conjugate verbs and the end of the verb will change, but in Latin, every fucking word, whether it's an adjective, a noun, a verb, a preposition, any of those things, they all can have different endings depending on where in the sentence they are. So I found that it was kind of easy to translate from Latin to English, but taking a sentence in English and figuring out how to say it in Latin is not easy. Not for me anyway. But our teacher was kind of he didn't really care.
Did you have the same guy all?
Yeah. He was.
Who was it?
It's like a little tiny little dude. I think his name was Rodriguez, Mr. Rodriguez.
I remember him.
He was a really weird little guy, and
We went to same high school, different times.
different
Oh, of
years though.
course.
No, we know a couple of the same teachers.
Yeah, he was not a very demanding teacher though, so he kind of let us slide.
I took French for a couple of years, and I learned a couple of things.
Is that because of your last name?
Yeah. I figured it would be good. I have a kind of a Frenchy last name, so I figured. And I have an uncle who's French, and a lot of people. And it was the language of love, and I was a teenager, and
Have you ever been to
every
France?
little bit. I actually have.
Right. So you know that as long as you try to speak French, they're cool.
Yeah. Well, and then the cool thing is, I notice a lot of these European language, you can get away with words that sound like words. Like like in France, French class, I learned le réfrigérateur, le télévision.
Well, the thing in France is
Those are easy words to remember.
They will treat you like an asshole unless you at least try to speak French. You don't have to do it well. Like my dad would try, and he'd be horrible at it, but at least they'd be like, "Oh, that's cool. We speak English." But if you didn't even try, and like, "Hey, do you speak English?" No. You had to at least try to speak French, and then they'd be cool. Like, "Yeah, no, we speak English." But as long as you tried, it was cool. But if you don't try, they treat you like shit.
Yeah, I was working on cruise ships, and we did the Mediterranean thing, and so we stopped at we stopped in France. and apparently it's pronounced Cannes. Not cons or cans, Cannes, the movie place or whatever.
Right.
Very, very upscale. You wander around there, and I off the top of my head, all I can remember is I went into some place where they had this machine where you could pay like $3 and you pull a lever and you would get fresh squeezed orange juice. Why would I remember that? I don't know, but I did, and I did it. And my buddy goes, that orange went down, came back up, and you just got some Tropicana right there. You know what I mean?
Use that orange for 2 weeks.
You just paid. The only thing that got squeezed was you. That's what he said. I go, you're probably right.
That's hilarious.
But I know. And then just wandering around out there, it is. I don't know, man. After a while, you travel around, everything. It sort of looks like this.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, though, I did like
Boca
Riem's.
Raton.
Yeah, right. Riem's is really nice, especially if you like champagne, because basically any restaurant you walk into, first thing they do is hand you their champagne.
Oh, yeah.
That they make, like at that place. Like, yeah, try our champagne. Oh, shit, yeah.
Yeah, there was wine at McDonald's. That was weird, But, whatever. I guess they have their own way over there.
And unfortunately, in Riem's, it could have been my fault for eating steak tartare in France. Probably not the best idea. But the next day we were in Paris, and there's a picture of me at the Eiffel Tower, and I'm like, I don't feel good.
Yeah, well, you probably ate horse.
Right, like whatever it was either that or there's some dicey fruit at the frickin' but something did not agree with me from Riem's. It was bad. Matter of fact, we didn't even stay in Paris for very long. And this is a hilarious story. So it's me and my dad. We got a rental car. We're in Paris. I'm feeling like shit. He's like, I think we're going to get a hotel in Europe or on Europe. But it was like we couldn't find something, and we were like, "Fuck it." Oh no! As a matter of fact, we were on the way back on the ferry back to England when I was like feeling really the worst. And so then we get in this rental car, and he's driving around. We couldn't get a place at Canterbury. There were no hotels, so we were going to go right back to London and just go to the hotel room we knew we could get. So we get to London, and my dad's driving around, and we're driving around for a long time. I'm like, Dad, do you know where you're going? He's like, oh, yeah, I got it. I know where I'm going. I'm like, okay. Finally, I'm like laying in the back seat. I feel so bad. I'm not even looking at it. But I still can see like the same statue keeps going by.
Look, kids, Big Ben.
Yeah. No, but the same statue keeps going by. And I'm like, Dad, come on, man. Are you lost? He would admit he's finally missed. Yeah, I'm having a hard time. I'm like, look, man, I really feel like shit. Let me get a taxi. And he goes, oh, that's a good idea. And he actually flags down a taxi. And he tells the taxi, he goes, I'm going to pay your fare, but I got to follow you. And he goes, why do you have to follow me? He goes, I'm trying to find the Thistlehide, hotel. He goes, oh, it's relatively straightforward. And it proceeds literally 14 or 15 different turns and and I'm like, what is this guy, insane? We would have never figured this out.
That's relatively straightforward.
Yes, it was like crazy. Like we would have never found this place. Now, to my dad's credit, we were in Brussels and we're driving around looking for some hotel, and I'm like, there's no way in hell he's going to find this hotel. And suddenly we pull right up to it. I'm like, how the hell did you do that? I mean, like in the middle of Brussels, we had no idea how he found this place.
Which is all pre-GPS, nice. I'm assuming.
Oh, yeah, it was way before. I have no idea how he found this place. I thought he was just driving around aimlessly, and then we just drive up to the hotel. I'm like, how the hell did you do that? Because his direction not that good.
Speaking of GPS and not knowing where the hell you are, I was on my way here today. And my GPS is like, you are at your location. I'm like, where is this? And I'm telling you, before that Funky Biscuit was the Funky Biscuit, it was the Funky Pianos or whatever, Funky Nuts. And I worked there. Right. I still can't find the place.
Yeah. I'm wondering, this is a confusing.
This is not a very, And like I said, I'm driving up Meisner Boulevard, and it's like, you have reached your location. I don't know where I parked, over there somewhere. And I'm just wandering around my phone, and all I could picture was like you guys doing like your, you were in the other studio in the other videos, right, where you're right in front of the window.
Yeah, so
and
you're trying to look in the window.
I just imagine you guys doing the show before I got here, and me just being some jackass.
Footage of you wandering around outside.
It's just like, like you're gonna see me.
That would have been quite entertaining.
I didn't want to walk
wish
past
that
your
would have happened
window.
now.
Yeah, that would have been good.
So but eventually I did find the place. But anyway, so
all right, let's check the list. All right, we talked about Kanye. Do we want to talk any more about Kanye?
From the East.
Okay. Here's an interesting question. All right. So a guy's sitting there at a speed trap, a cop, right? If you go down to the end of the street and hold up a sign that says speed trap, they will arrest you. How does that make sense? You're actually accomplishing exactly what he wants to do. You're making everybody slow down.
Will they arrest you, or just they have the ability to arrest you?
Well, at the very least, they will come over and give you a hard time.
Yeah.
At the very least. Even though you're accomplishing the very goal that they're setting out to
You're only accomplishing half the goal that they're setting out to accomplish.
That's true. That's true.
You're only accomplishing half. You are dissuading people from speeding, but they're also
not making any money.
To make a little money and to leave some punitive marks on the person that was caught, so they'll remember what they did and not do it again.
This is what you jotted down.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay. I don't even think I jotted that down. I just remembered that.
Let me take a look at my notes. Let's see here. Do you think that Kermit and Miss Piggy actually did it?
I can't even read my own writing.
And if they did, how? Okay.
Do you think vegan women breastfeed their children?
What's that?
Do you think vegan women breastfeed their children?
That's an interesting
Is breast milk vegan?
That's a good question.
I mean, it's voluntary from the animal in question, so perhaps that's the deciding factor.
Oh, yeah.
But if that was the case, dairy cows essentially need to be milked or they will suffer great pain and distress, so that's kind of voluntary too.
That's true. All right, anyway, so I had an idea for a TV show. All right, so you know these, like, the shows where they got all the
three
people...
guys sit around and talk on the microphone.
Yeah, no, the ones where they're all on Zoom calls and captioned, like Pierce Morgan or whatever.
Right.
My idea is you get all those, you got to have them all in the same studio. All right. You have a show like that where you get all these guys that are all mad at each other and yelling at each other. But the first two guys that actually start to like really get mad at each other and throw insults, you go, okay, stop. You make them get in the ring and put on the gloves for 3 rounds. And then you have them come back and talk about whatever issue they were talking about.
And these would be revolving guests, obviously, or you're talking about a core 3 people that eventually will figure out who can get the shit kicked out of them.
It'd probably be a descending amount of guests depending on who gets eliminated or knocked out. But I think that would be ultimately quite entertaining.
All right. Didn't Rogan try to do something like that and kill a man?
No, but he should.
Kick through his spine.
Do you watch any podcasts?
Yeah, occasionally.
Like Rogan and that kind of thing?
Yeah, sure. I watch Rick Beato a lot. Where he has a lot of music stuff goes on.
I've seen a lot of his stuff.
Yeah, his show, but mostly stuff that, I can pick something up from.
You
know what I like? Slapped Ham. You ever watch that? That's this guy. He's like, he always shows like all these creepy videos, and it's like, if you look closely, you can see the ghostly figure in the corner.
Oh wait a minute, you can never with the goldfish?
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Oh, he doesn't have a little goldfish next to him?
Maybe now he's got a little ham, but I mean, everybody. It's all these like spooky ghost video podcasts.
Or
I watch all those. They have all these
things.
clips, and they're always filmed on some like 1980s camera.
Yeah,
and it's always like all pixelated. It's like, did you see it? And there's nothing there. Nothing has ever made me not believe in ghosts more than these stupid freaking ghost videos they show. It's like, ooh, and every time there is a ghost, it's always like peeking out behind it. It's like, come here, a ghost, get out. Say hello. Let us see. You always like, what kind of dick ghost is like sitting there like flipping your forks out of this? Come on, man, be a jerk. Make yourself known. So anyway, I like those. They just piss me off. And that's about it as far as like watching podcasts and, like I said, music podcasts.
I lived in a haunted house.
Did you?
Yeah, according to the ghost investigators.
Okay, yeah. Why don't you take 3 minutes and tell me about that? Did they mess your shit up? Did they throw stuff around your house?
Here's what they did. Actually, they used to let me start the story. All right, so I moved in this place in Lantana with this chick who was a little weird. She was into the tarot, claimed to be a psychic and witchcraft and all that kind of thing. All right, so we got that going in. All right, so we move in this house. One day she calls me into the guest room where her thing is camels. You know how chicks always have a thing, frogs.
Elephants, camels. Yeah.
All right, so she had these 2 stuffed camels that were up on the window that were now like on the floor with their heads kind of stuck under the window. She's like, did you do this? And I'm like,
camel's a bold choice for a girl. She's leaving herself open to a lot of really easy jokes, but go ahead.
But anyway, so I'm like, no, it wasn't me. I didn't do it. And she's like, oh, that's kind of weird. And then we had 2 or 3 cats. So, about a couple of weeks later, same thing. She goes, hey, do you do that? You're doing this, right? I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. Also, the same place I had my like desk where I'd play video games and stuff set up in the back room, where it was like through this doorway was like a full length mirror in our bedroom, and I would be sitting there, and I swear to God, all the time it'd be like,
Something.
It seemed like something was walking in front of that mirror. And then another thing happened where like these red fingerprints appeared on the door with that closet door that mirror was on, which was kind of weird. But the thing that made me actually call the ghost investigators, which I didn't know that they do it for free. You don't have to get charge.
Ray Parker Jr. wrote a song about it.
Right. But anyway, so the thing that made me call the ghost investigators is we both had a car, but we usually would take her car. She had a nicer car. And in the back room where we come in from the carport, there's like some hooks where I religiously hung my keys, hats, jackets, all that kind of shit. So one day we're getting ready to go somewhere, and we're just about to head out the door, and I'm looking around, and I can't find her keys. They're not on the hook. I'm looking on the hook, and they're not there. You must have the keys in your purse, honey. She spends about a half hour, 45 minutes looking for her keys, including going to those hooks, taking everything off the hooks, including all my keys, all my hats, all my jackets, went through the pockets of my jacket to make sure that the keys hadn't fallen in the pocket or something like that. Put it all back up there, went back to looking some more. Finally, I'm like, all right, this is getting ridiculous. Let's just take my car, grab my hat off one of the hooks, and there are her keys. And that's like, wait a minute. That was too weird.
Wait a minute. Were the keys underneath your hat?
Yeah.
Well, that's where you
but
put
at
them.
some point, she had everything off the key.
Okay.
Unless she somehow slipped them there without me seeing it. I was standing there watching. So, so that's what prompted me to call ghost investigators. And sure enough, we had to go sleep somewhere else for a night while they fucked around the house all night.
I love those guys. Hang on.
But I have a CD.
Hang on.
Oh, dude, I have a CD with them their recordings, and there's a part where I swear to God you can hear clear as day because I had a drum set up in the back room, and they go in the back room and they go, "Do you like it when Chip plays the drums?" And you can hear a distinct no.
Yeah, right.
I swear to God, it's on the CD.
Hang on a second. What did you hear it? Oh! That's my impression of those people.
Right.
Says, I'm out. Right. Give me a break.
I gotta say this. A couple other things have happened to me that make me wonder. One of them at the place I live now is, I swear to God, I looked for an hour and a half for like a little pile of money that I had, and it just appeared on my fucking nightstand after me looking all over for it. And it's just
I just think that happens to people who smoke pot. That you just forget where you put things, and then you remember later on.
Usually if I look for an hour, especially in some place very specific, and then it appears there, I don't know. It was just weird. It was very strange. You never had any kind of like strange, unexplainable events happen to you?
I think everything that happens is a little weird. You know what I mean? I don't even know. There's stupid things like where you wake up at the middle of the night and then somebody calls and you're like, why would somebody call me now in the middle of the night when I just woke up 5 minutes ago? And why am I getting what happened in the universe where I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning?
Synchronicity.
And then the police, and somebody somewhere else woke up at the same time and said, I wonder what Jim's doing. And I go, why did you text me now or give me a call now? I just happened to wake up, but there's a certain connectivity, but some people say that this is just the ride. This is it. You're talking about the Matrix. I heard this is just the roller coaster ride. We waited in line to get here, and now we're going through the loops, and then eventually we get off, and then we move on to whatever the hell else is out there. It's a little deep for Jim, but hey, if you're asking.
I went and saw The Matrix with this old girlfriend, and I had to explain her the movie like an hour afterwards. Yeah. She just didn't get it. I was like, you don't understand. She just
that must have been a nightmare. Why did you? Should have just gone and seen that one by yourself, man.
Yeah. She just didn't get it. She couldn't grasp it. But wait, never mind, honey. Ever have to explain The Matrix to the wife?
No, not at all.
She probably explains it to you, right?
Probably most of the time. Yeah, it depends.
You should have brought her. She's probably funnier than you.
No, she's all right. Not right now. She's not. She's that was her at a bar is the premiere version, or at one of her nieces or nephews' sporting events. That's
Jim and I had a date, and he ruined it by bringing his wife.
How'd you do that? Yeah. That was pretty cool, though, going out and seeing that band. We were actually supposed to go do a bunch of other stuff, but, after that, it was like, man.
Yeah, and then, like I said, you haven't really seen. I mean, until you see Patrick, like, playing the guitar behind his back while playing the keyboards and singing all at the same time, it just doesn't count.
Yeah.
That guy's just insanely amazing.
Yeah, a lot of guys, like I said, they seemed like a pretty good band. I wouldn't even, I probably should get out and see more.
Well, the thing is, unless you know who to see, like just the other night, I went into the place used to be the Fish Depot or whatever. What the hell is I forget what it's called now, but anyway, we went in there and there was just a horrible band in there. I mean, just horrible. I literally almost wanted to find like a manager or something in the place and go, did you guys listen to these guys before you hired them? Or who told you to hire this band? I mean, they were just awful. But there's so many great bands, but then there's that. And the saddest part is I played in a band with the drummer.
How was the post-Beatles band thing coming?
Not that great, really. Well, I mean, I'm just waiting for these. I've given up. I don't know if these guys ever want to do it, we'll do it. But until then,
and who are you supposed to be in this?
I just playing bass.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
No, I got 4 guys that are supposedly, one to be Paul and John and George and Ringo, but I mean, it's like herding cats,
You need a gig. That'll drive everybody everywhere.
I was actually.
You and I are talking
the thing
about
is that kind of project you can't just. That needs rehearsal.
But
the thing we're talking about doing, I think you're right. I think that's a secret. We just gotta get a gig.
All right, here we go. Brown-eyed girl. Let's go.
As long as we have to play that.
Mustang Sally. Let's go. What's the other one you hate?
There's plenty.
Finally figured out it's been a long, long.
Holy shit! You hear about the lead singer from 3 Doors Down?
Which one? Kryptonite?
Yeah, yes. Stage 4 lung cancer.
Oh, does he? Oh,
yeah.
I was just bringing the mood up. But okay, go ahead.
All right. And you want to say, as long as people are
cancer.
dancing, you're doing your job.
What's that?
As long as you got people coming out to dance, you're doing your job. No matter how much you may hate the song.
Well, I mean, when you're playing in a bar, yes, that's the whole. That's kind of the thing. But see, that's even playing a bar. That's the thing about playing a bar versus playing venues where people go there to see music.
Well, yeah, I did mean obviously in a bar. Yeah,
but I mean at most bars where there's 8 million TVs playing the game and everybody's drunk trying to pick up chicks, you got to vie for their attention. You better be doing something, or else they're just going to ignore you. Whereas, if somebody goes there to specifically hear your music, you can do more performance-based stuff that doesn't, has more nuance.
You already have their attention.
Exactly.
You don't need to get it.
Exactly. Which is, it can be fun playing in bars, though. I mean, as long as you can get their attention, it can be a lot of fun. As long as you're
karaoke in bars can be a lot of fun.
True. I told my theory on karaoke. If you ever do it, you gotta have like a breathalyzer because you shouldn't be allowed to do it unless you're drunk.
Yeah, I suppose that
you can't go up there sober and do karaoke. That's against the whole concept of it. You got to be freaking wasted.
I also don't think you should be allowed to do it if you're like a professional singer.
Yeah, exactly. We've had this conversation.
Nobody else wants to go up and follow you if you're like good at. You know what I mean? You kind of have to suck at it so that other people.
You've seen those guys that think it's American Idol or something, and it's like, it's karaoke. It's chill out, lighten up, Francis.
Yeah, I mean, normally if I show up at one of those, it's.
See, now that's we need a remake of Stripes.
Who would you cast?
God, I don't know. Oof.
Bill Hader might be one of them.
I could see like Zach Galifianakis maybe. He'd be the John Candy character, I would think. I don't know, man. It'd be fun. It'd be fun. You know what else would be good to remake is The Odd Couple.
They've remade that once before, haven't they?
Like 15 times.
Where?
At least.
Oh, of course.
Who's remade it?
Well, let's talk about it. It started
the TV show.
It started out as a thing with those 2 old dudes, Jack Lemmon and and then of course it was more famous with Tony Randall and Jack Klugman.
Well, that's a TV show.
Who I only know as Quincy. And then Jack Klugman, and then they did a remake with the son from Sanford & Son. It was like a black version. They did that. Then they did a female version in the 80s of The Odd Couple. And just recently, Chandler, before he died, did a version of it with the guy from...
That's the one I was thinking of.
I didn't hear about that.
The guy from whatever that police show, that Reno 911 guy was the Tony Randall character. Yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen that. All right. Well, there you go. I'll have to check it out.
That was like a show on TV for
Which guy from... Lieutenant Dangle?
The guy with the short pants.
Lieutenant Dangle?
Yeah.
Dangle
Don
played,
Lemon.
And Chandler played the slob.
I just saw him do a podcast with somebody. Who was it? He was hilarious, though. Maybe it was Joe Rogan. I think it was Joe Rogan. I think he was just on Joe Rogan. Or somebody. He was on somebody's podcast, but he is hilarious. He was funny. He was talking about the fact that he says he was riding his bike or something with his kid, and somebody, like, yelled at him to get out of the road or something like that, and then got stopped at a sign. And he says he went and he leaned in the door. He goes, "Get out of the car. Get out of the car now. One of us is going to die." The guy's like, "Ah!" It's like, that would be hilarious having Captain Dangle telling you that through your window. Like, really? That'd be fucking hilarious. You'd be a good Captain, Lieutenant Dangle.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
I could see you in the shorts with
the mustache.
Yeah,
I could probably grow some of that back. You know, it's all
I
about
never
comedy.
could grow a mustache.
Yeah. Well, you know.
Did you ever have a mustache?
Yeah, my wife made me shave it off. It was a very New Yorky thing to have back in the 80s.
I was going to say, didn't you when we were in the band maybe have one?
They had the peach fuzz going on for a while there, and
I'm trying to remember.
But my wife said no.
We never did remember the singer of that damn band's name, did we?
Which band?
That Night Magic guys?
Yeah, we were all singers. Everybody sang.
No, but there's the Elvis guy. What was his name?
There was a guy named Jeff who was like the Elvis guy.
Okay, Jeff. That's right, because I was thinking it was Gene. I think you're right. I think it is Jeff.
But yeah, those jam bands, man. Come to Florida, you know.
That was more of a. Truthfully, that was almost a country band. We used to do like Alabama and Darth.
Everybody,
Brooks.
yeah. It was.
You're turning him into a Star Wars villain.
Darth Brooks.
And the Sith.
I've got friends in dark places.
That'd be a good little skit right there.
Yeah,
That's
sure
funny.
would. Darth Brooks.
Darth Brooks. I am your father.
That song still goes over great, by the way. And
it's a good song.
It doesn't. It never fails. That you know when you're doing like a dueling piano show and you're sitting up there and you're playing requests and you got this, that, and the other thing and you're losing the room's interest.
What's the name of that
Nothing.
song
There's a couple of key things that will always work. One is hands touching hands.
Oh,
that
yeah,
always gets them. And then and then there's always blame it all on my roots. And then boom, shut up, boots. Oasis. And also, obviously, every single time you can't really get very far saying just a small town girl without people saying,
yeah, right.
In a lonely world. And also, do you know this one? When you say. She wears short skirts. I wear t-shirts. She's cheer captain M.
I have no idea.
Okay, they know.
No idea either.
Leave that one for the kids.
We gotta up our piano, dueling piano
That's
chops.
nothing. Yeah, just nothing but just one of the iconic musician people of du jour. In one of her most popular songs.
Why did you put the sunglasses on? Are you a celebrity now?
Yeah, I'm fading.
How much time we got left?
Is the paparazzi here again? God damn it. All right, let's see what else
That's
I got.
your line.
I just can't believe how bald I look on that camera.
Unions.
Yeah.
All right, what have they done lately?
I don't know. I've never been in one.
Right, me neither. But they seem to be living on everything in the past. Like, oh, well, wouldn't have a 7-day work week and overtime. And then what have they done lately?
Again, I
You ever been
don't
in a
really
music
study them because I've
union or
never
anything?
been in one.
Did they have them up in Long Island, like musician
Yes,
union?
of course. But you know what? I think probably served a purpose at one point and probably still do for people that need, that sort of thing.
I just never understood the concept. All right, look, I understand the concept of everybody going like, look, this is bullshit. We ain't doing it all collectively. But why do you need an organization to do that? Why can't you just go like, this job sucks, I quit? I don't know why you need.
Because you have more bargaining power if everybody says it at the same time. Obviously.
Well, yeah. Well, that's the part of organizing and saying like, look, guys, this sucks. Let's do something about it. Let's all tell them we're going to quit. Or why do you need a union to do that?
Well, that is what that organization is called. When you organize to do that, it's.
Well, yeah, but I mean, okay, yeah, you may have a point there. So, and then they just get too big and get out of control, I guess.
Yeah, eventually they amass too much power and then they become corrupt and then. That's the same reason why communism never works anytime any country tries it. It looks great on paper. It's a wonderful idea. Everybody should share, and that really you can't even argue on paper. It does.
So could it possibly be
somebody always wants more because they're in charge and they
could
feel
it possibly
obligated.
be that unions are outdated because of the technology? They're really kind of not needed now.
I don't know. I mean, I'd have to see some evidence of, like you said, what do
Well,
they
none
do
of us
now?
have ever been in a union,
never
so
been in
obviously
one.
they're
Yeah,
not
so
that
this-
needed. I mean,
Yeah, well,
Well, if you take a place like Detroit, have you ever been there? It's,
No, I've
it
never
looks
been
like really you fly in and it really does look like it's not part of the United States. I mean,
Well,
half burned down houses.
From
The
what I
place
hear-
it really does look like someplace that you're like, when did I get to Sarajevo or something? It really is and because it had such manufacturing in there, and then there was a union involved. I don't know, but a lot of people were promised a lot of things. That as technology improved and then the less jobs, but still now you have these people, this overburdensome retired amount of people who have these great lush. Now they're expecting the next generation to pay for, but they don't really have because the jobs aren't really there and blah, blah, blah. And then so and so. And now, and then there was a
lot of people that
this
have
big giant city that's just empty, which hopefully, if we could bring manufacturing back to the country, that would be great.
well, Detroit's supposedly
know.
bouncing back pretty good right now. As a matter of fact, I got a buddy of mine just moved up there, and he sends pictures down all the time. It looks pretty nice, really.
Again, a guy who watches cartoons is probably the last person to ask about this sort of thing.
Right?
we don't claim to be experts,
Okay.
but we do have opinions.
We're definitely not experts at much of anything.
I just do think it was like a little bit of a pyramid thing. It was a little bit of a pyramid thing where they would promise a lot of people a lot of
everything's
stuff,
a little
and
bit
then
of a
it would
pyramid thing.
And then eventually that there stopped being people on the bottom there were enough to spread out, and then then they shipped all the cars over, and then who knows? I don't know if whatever they're doing now is going to work, but the idea of maybe bringing jobs back to America, it might in the long run could help. I don't know.
Well, we definitely need to start making things here again because the fact that, I mean, literally the thing that we export the most now is financial products.
Yeah.
Which is nothing. It's a concept. It's not even, it's digital things on a piece of paper. It's nothing. We don't
But
make
there are
anything.
people who would like jobs. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
there's nothing
Well,
wrong.
the problem is
you
gotta pay them here. You can't, and where.
Yeah.
That's the point of the tariffs, I assume. So you guys don't have an economic advantage because you're using slave labor.
Yeah, obviously, but
And another interesting post I saw today was about how Elon Musk suggesting making all bills that Congress is about to vote on public for like a week or 10 days before Congress votes on it, so that everybody could see it and see what they're voting on. To which I say, well, what do we need Congress for? Let's just vote on it.
that's a good point.
Just have a general election on every single bill
Yeah.
because
Why
nobody
not?
would show up. People barely show up
They
for
don't have.
anything.
Yeah, fine. Then those of us that do will decide. No different than how it is now, right?
That sounds like a lot of work. You let them handle the tedious.
Well, that's
I
gotten
do
us in
agree
a bit of
with I
trouble.
do agree with it being up so people should have a chance to read it. Not that I think many people will. I don't think many of them read it through entirely.
No, they absolutely don't.
So,
Some of them are
certainly don't think
impossible
your
to
average
read.
Joe is
Some
gonna
of them
do
are a
it.
couple of thousand pages long. You can't read that, and you're like, "Oh, you're voting on this tomorrow." You can't. I mean, even with a staff of like 20 people, sometimes you can't even get through it all. And even if you can in time, what are you going to do? Well, shit, look at all the pork in this. Well, it's either yes or no. So.
Yeah.
That's why I think, if you take every issue, I mean, we certainly have the technology now. I understand the concept of the Electoral College because back in the days of horse carriages and, you had to have representatives. You couldn't possibly, the technology we have today, we could easily have a direct democracy where everybody gets to vote. But of course, that's what other people also call mob rule,
Yeah.
which,
Well, and then again, that's when other people would point out that we've never been a democracy, but that we're a republic, and that's the primary
representative,
difference.
representative government. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely not democracy. Absolutely. What do you think? You think we should just vote on everything?
No, I don't think so at all. I think we should have I like the idea of. I mean, are you asking me? I like the idea of states having a lot of ideas on how to run things. That's a popular thing with me. I don't really think that some people in
Decentralized power.
Yeah, I don't. It's like without getting into too much of it. It's like we need to ban guns, and then you got the people in Montana who are like, we have bears. You know what I mean?
Well,
and
here's the
people
funniest
in
thing.
Washington D.C. are like, oh, you idiot, you fool with your bears.
Here's the funniest
You
thing.
gotta let people in Montana run Montana for crying out loud.
Well,
you know what I mean?
I'm a major constitutionalist, but
Yeah.
I'm the first one to admit Second Amendment's not necessary. You don't need the Second Amendment. They're not going to get it. They're not going to stop people from having guns, no matter what. Just like drugs, it ain't going to happen. You can say they can't have them all you want. It's not going to happen. Somebody's going to have some guns somewhere, no matter what illegal or illegal. You can try, certainly, but. I mean, it kind of works in some places, I guess. In England, they don't have many guns, right?
Well, yeah, not that many. And Australia gave up most of their guns. Yeah, most of Western Europe actually does not have a lot of guns. Although Scandinavia has a lot of guns.
Switzerland and Sweden.
Yeah, they actually have a lot of guns. But that's because everybody there has mandatory military service, and then when they send you home afterwards, you take your rifle with
That's
you.
right. That's right.
So everybody has one.
I'm sure they got a few guns in like Germany and Italy and all the Axis powers, really.
Yeah, I don't even know, man. My brother-in-law is one of these, medieval type guys.
Renaissance fair guy?
Yeah. He's like, they're gonna wish I had a gun if they if they break in. That would be the nice thing, you know what I
Right.
mean? Yeah,
Better than being hit with a flail.
Yeah. Although he does have guns.
He used to
In
have
case
a,
they make it out into the yard.
Yeah. It's like,
he used to have a nice little collection of swords and axes and
still
stuff.
do.
Yeah.
I still do.
Yeah.
You don't want to break into his house.
Yeah.
And guns too now.
Yeah,
So
and
I got
guns.
both too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the gun is just, no fun in that.
That's true.
He's got that hat.
It's not
hatchet
very
thing
sporting.
that- yeah, I mean,
I keep a framing hammer next to my bed. It's pretty good.
That is a wonderful.
That'll.
Home Depot has all kinds of wonderful things. in it.
You wouldn't even
Maxwell's silver.
know. Yeah, absolutely.
I just watched a video about that yesterday. It was some guy in the UK that was talking about all the knife bans and everything there and how silly and pointless it was because he was like, every single one of these items
Dude,
from Home Depot
they can
is
make a
better.
shiv out of a toothpick in prison. I think, out of a
Because they outlawed butterfly knives or something like that, and I forget what this double-edged swords is. That he picks up a shovel. He goes, "This is way worse than anything that they've outlawed so far." You
sure.
hit somebody in the head with a shovel, it's game over. He's like, you take a grinder to one side of the shovel. I'm like, dude, that's not even necessary. You're already hitting him in the head with a shovel. I think you made your point.
I keep my shovel sharp.
Yeah.
And again, he was, like you're going to outlaw butterfly knives and all these. You can't outlaw kitchen knives, which is what most of the stabbings occurred or take place with are kitchen knives anyway.
Yes.
There's too many tools that are just as good. Well, we're about ready to wrap it up.
All right. I'd like to. The show is brought to you by my compact disc, the Beer and Fireworks. From 1997. You can see that I have a full head of hair on there. Anyway.
Wait, let me see that.
And where can they get that?
No, it's on my website, callmejim.com.
Wow, you do have a lot of hair there.
Yeah.
You still got a good amount of forehead.
You know what's funny, though? The back is the punchline. See? There you go.
Okay.
See, because I'm playing with the fireworks, and then I blow up.
Oh, and then you see it's blown from the back, from the front to the back.
Yeah, it's like a little bit of a joke in itself. And there's a bunch of
it's little things like that on album covers that, if you don't...
You miss it, yeah.
Yeah, I miss liner notes and albums and all that.
What's that? Oh, yeah.
The liner notes and stuff. We were talking about Stop Making Sense. That had some of the greatest liner notes of any album I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And my personal favorite was the aliens are viewing Earth from space think that factories are musical instruments. And then it said, songs last from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. There is no music on the weekends.
I just miss the band laying out all of their equipment on the album cover in symmetrical order, like somebody was insane. That was my favorite thing. Best bet. Let's go do that in the parking lot right now.
All righty.
All right, guys. I guess we'll wrap this one up.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
I appreciate
it was a
you,
pleasure.
Hang around for a little while. Gabe might show up. You never know.
What? Oh, Jesus. Has that been open the whole time?
Yeah, you've been Hasselhoffing up big time. All right. We'll catch you next episode, guys.
All right. Thank you.